Series in 2026 here in Milan in front of quite possibly the loudest crowd we have ever had, and this is an opportunity for manufacturers and for drivers to get their names on the scoreboard for the first time this season. Let's have a look and remind you how the grid is going to line up here at the Nordschleife. So it's Jose Serrano, reigning champions Porsche, on pole position. Maximilian Kroll for Ferrari lines up on the front row. Nissan and Mikołaj Sedlak lining up at the head of the second row, with Mercedes and Jack Bolding making his debut in P4. Then it's BMW Samuel Moreno in P5, with Lexus and Antonio Santos sixth on the grid. Next up is Mazda and Pol Ura. They struggled, didn't make it through into the top six shootouts, with Hafidi and Volkswagen alongside. Then it's Audi, Kylian Drumont, new manufacturer for the Frenchman. Toyota have got Benjamin Hensei behind the wheel for this season. Subaru's Callum Moxon lines up P11, and 12th and last on the grid is Miroslav Kravchenko for Lamborghini. Now, we know, of course, tyre strategy is something to mention in this one. The top four going for the medium tyres. Nobody opting for softs at the start of this one.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that people feel the need to use them at this point. We know it's a short-lived tyre, that Dunlop soft tyre, so I think maybe at this point it's just let's feel it out. You know, those who are at the back of the pack, I think, are maybe just hoping that they can make their way through, but there's no big strategic plays there, which means all the action, all the overtakes are going to have to happen on track.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you can see there, this is the calm before the storm now, really, for these drivers. They're sat there in the rigs, and I guarantee if we had a heart rate monitor on them, they would be beating out of their chest, because despite the fact that we've got some very experienced drivers in the GT World Series, that pressure, that tension, it all comes down to the performances out on track, and they know that this is the first opportunity for them to go well, really, to get those points on the board, to start their season off in the right way, and to hopefully help their teammates with the opportunity. Let's see what happens then as Manufacturers Cup 2026 begins here at the Nordschleife. Jose Serrano leads the field across the line, followed by Kroll, followed by Sedlak and Bolding, etc. Then the hard shot runners of Moreno will be in the background. Let's see what they can do as we come down the Dottinger and head in towards the left-hander as we go over the rise. Will we see any changes for position? Because it's a very long straight, and look at that already, because you've got Sedlak attacking against Maximilian Kroll for second position. We flick it through the left-hander. Kroll does manage to hold on to P2 for now, but at the front of the race, it's Jose Serrano that leads for Porsche.
Yeah, really surprising to not see any big position changes there, given the nature of the run down to what was Galbenkopf now, as we come backwards and sort of make our way slowly towards the Bell Fest. We're on board with Moreno in the BMW right now. To be honest, at the moment, there's not really anywhere to overtake for this section. Just try and get close to the car in front. At the moment, Bolding and the top four, a little bit of a gap. That's because they're on that medium compounder tyre. They're going to have a pace advantage early on in this race. So the closer Moreno and the rest of the half runners can stay to the medium shod drivers, the better. As you watch Sedlak now in third position behind Kroll. Always been very quick in that Nissan GTR, but 6 laps here at the ring. It's going to be a challenge for even him.
Certainly is. On board we are then with Jack Boulding as we flick it through this left and then the right-hander through the forest, but in the opposite direction. On board we are now here with the British driver, and as we said, qualifying is one thing. Doing it under racing circumstances, though, is completely different. You can see we're now rising up the hill as opposed to at this particular point when we would be dropping down it. Just a point to mention, by the way, whilst we're on the opening lap of action, we are experiencing a technical issue with the PlayStation account and GT7. Means the viewer campaign isn't working at the moment, but it's a work in progress. You can still watch and claim the gift even after the stream has ended. You've got a couple of weeks, so don't panic if you can't watch it from your PlayStation 5 at the moment. We will get that sorted and you will be rewarded as a result of it. But Jack Boulding there, still in 4th place, still pretty static at the front of this race on this opening lap.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up now to what will be probably one of the overtaken zones. It'll be the run down towards Bergwerk after the carousel here. Let's see if these guys can get through here better than I did. They can, what a surprise.
It's almost like it's their job.
It almost is, yeah. Very difficult way to put the car in there. Like I said, you're under a lot of load coming downhill there, and it's very easy just to get it wrong on the way in as we now come down towards what will be the mud curve at the bottom here. There is Serrano leading away. The gap up to almost a second, so he's almost getting out of slipstream range, which is a good indicator that the pace is there for Serrano and Team Porsche. Although I've got to say Moreno and Santos there, the hard runners in the BMW and Lexus, doing a good job to stay within touching distance too. So that hard tyre maybe a bit improved over what it was last year.
I suppose that's the name of the game, isn't it, really, when you're on that hard tyre at the moment, is damage limitation, really. If you can stick with the medium short runners as best as you can. I mean, 6 laps doesn't sound like a long time. Here at the Nordschleife, as we said, about 45-minute race duration, all being well for the drivers. So those who are on the hard tyres, all from 5th place downwards, they've just got to make sure they keep in touching distance of the cars in front, and they will be in a good position come the end of it, because, of course, they'll have quicker tyre compounds to run, in theory. So looking at Sedjak then, sitting in the wheel tracks here of Maximilian Krol, and Sedjak, as I said, finished on the podium in Berlin last year. The Polish driver. Let's see what he can do here for Nissan. They are the 2023 Manufacturers' Cup champions. Ferrari, they've never won a Manufacturers' Cup title. Last time they were on the podium was back in Prague in 2024. Yeah,
Sedjak getting very close there in the GTR, but this is where you have one of the challenges of driving around the ring here. It's just, where do you pass? Where do you pass? And when you do pass, you have to really throw it in. So here's Paul Ura. Bad qualifying, couldn't put him down in P7 for Team Mazda. What happened to him? Oh, just wide there, onto the grass. I'd love to hear what corner that is, but I've got no idea from this perspective. And down to P9. So it goes to bad to worse. Actually now in P10 is Paul Ura. So really having a bad start to this race here this season in the Manufacturers' Cup for Team Mazda. Meanwhile, we go back on board with Sedjak, and both him and Krol, I think, have closed up a little bit onto the back of Serrano now. So Serrano maybe not as quick as we first thought there, or maybe these guys keeping a little bit extra in the tank, but Sedjak now really starting to push Krol along. I think he's starting to get a little bit impatient, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming in towards the first traditional Nürburgring circuit, the second half as we look at it. Let's have a look at Jack Boulding, Maximilian Krol, and also Mikołaj Sedjak at the start of this race. And as this is coming down into the Dottinger Hood, you can see side by side there between the Ferrari and the Nissan. Sedjak looking for that move on the outside, but Krol just about managing to cover him off at this particular point. We cross back to live racing action then here. So Sedjak it is that's still in 3rd position. He hasn't managed to find his way through on the German driver for now, but as you say, certainly signalling a statement of intent here, because he's all over the rear wing of that 296.
And Serrano now also back into it. So I thought maybe that this would be an easy run for Serrano, but the top 3 really close now, and Sedjak is starting to get a little bit impatient. Where do you pass it on this version of the circuit? I think maybe you can have a go up here. If you've got a slipstream, you see Krol there pulling out to try and not being on the draft for whatever reason. No BOP to try and hide here, but then now it's just free press. Look at this, how close this is after almost a lap here of the ring, coming now down down the hill. Speed's really high at this point, and now you have to try and pick your braking point. You're braking uphill here, so you can brake quite late, but really easy to overdo it and end up on the curbs and then end up in the wall, like we saw Paul Ura did earlier on in the lap.
Wouldn't mind being in Jack Baldwin's cockpit at the moment. He's got box office seats of this trio of drivers in front of him as it stands for the time being. The top 3, as you can see, separated by just about half a second or so as they head towards the end of this first lap. Now I wonder if we're going to get the hard shod runners coming in at the end of lap 1 and going on to either the medium or the soft competitive tyres. That might be our first time we'll see a divergence in strategy as Sedjak just brushes the grass on the outside there.
Mate, you don't get away with that very often at the ring, I tell you that. So Sedjak there doing well to keep the car pointing the right way. And now we come back onto the GP circuit. So this might be traditionally the best place to pass if you're close enough. But you see Kroll and Serrano already sort of eking the gap out a little bit from Sejak behind. Balding is still there or thereabouts behind, so the top four all have pulled away, unsurprisingly, on that softer compounder tyre, the medium, softer than the hard compounder. I know what I'm saying. It's a medium compounder tyre. And Moreno there leading the hard tyre runners. So, of course, all tyres must be used, the medium, hard and the soft, and that will come into play a bit later on. Now, we use the cut through here, not the full GP circuit, which is a really tough corner from this angle, because on the exit, the road falls away from you. You can end up going off into the grass on the outside. So there is our Dunlop tyre strategy down in the bottom left-hand corner there. The soft tyre, we think, only go for 1 lap, and these mediums only for 2. So Serrano's only going to have 1 more lap of pace at the front before having to choose which way to go.
Absolutely, and we have seen drivers bucking the trends of that in the GT World Series pretty much ever since day dot, so let's wait and see whether that strategy will prove to be the one that they'll follow, or whether we'll see anybody coming in at the end of this pit lane. Don't think it'll be the case for the medium tyres, because of course they're quicker than the hard job runners that are out on them at the moment, so we'll come across the line. Serrano it is, of course, that will still lead with Kroll and Sejak, so they blast past the pit lane and head down towards the Döttinger Hill. We're coming towards the end now of this first lap. The gap to Moreno, the first of those hard job runners, up to nearly 5 seconds, so you can just see how different it is in terms of the pace over the course of this lap, because especially where it's one at a time and there's all these medium speed corners, you're just eking out a tenth here, a tenth there, and that gap has built up quite significantly as we come to the end of that first tour here.
So here it is, probably the second opportunity to overtake here. A huge straight. Here comes the slipstream in action. Looking back there from Serrano, that Ferrari already starting to catch in the slipstream there. But just a little bit extra, a little bit less air resistance. So the car now putting up to the back of the rear wing. Maybe he's close enough. Serrano is very heavily defending the inside here, but it might not matter. There goes Kroll, maybe up into the lead. Yeah, just about by up into the lead goes Kroll in Team Ferrari. So all it took there was a long straight, and now the home favourite, Team Ferrari, up into the lead, but only for now. Serrano is now glued to the rear end of that Ferrari, and we know he's not going to let him get away.
I tell you what, it does make things interesting though, because the Döttinger Hill, normally it's down halfway down that straight, really, you see moves being made, but it's right towards the end of it, so you have to have a lot of commitment, especially going through that left-hander at the end of it. So good stuff from Kroll there, great from Jose Serrano. Decided not to fight that one too much, did he really? Tried to defend it on the inside, but he knows it's going to be in vain, such is the length of that Döttinger Hill straight. So now all he's got to do is sit there behind Kroll, hope that either the German driver makes a mistake here at this reverse Nordschleife layout, or Serrano can just maybe save a bit of tyres, save a bit of fuel at this early stage of the race, and just maybe work out where Kroll's weaker, because coming towards the end of it, that could prove to be the difference between, you know, winning and losing this one potentially.
Mate, you see Kroll climbing all over these curbs, and some of them, you know, I think maybe his luck might run out at some point. These curbs, they're very high here on the Nürburgring, and if you touch them in the wrong way, they tend to just spit you out. So Kroll there playing with fire, but that's the pace you need to bring to these competitions. You need to really use everything at your disposal, which right now Kroll is trying to do to build a gap from the reigning champion, Jose Serrano.
Antonio Santos, meanwhile, has just dropped behind Kylian Drumont, so the Frenchman is up into 5th position, so clearly Santos has made a mistake on that lap, or just been passed on the Döttinger Hill potentially, but yeah, half a second or so, relatively speaking, for the gap between Drumont and Santos. Maybe it's just an overtake there for position between those two drivers, but either way, good news there for Kylian Drumont. The gap, though, between the hard and the medium shot runners now up to 6.5 seconds here as we're on lap 2.
Yeah, we're looking really really interesting strategic options opening up here for our drivers. I mean, I was just looking at Kylian Drumont there when you were chatting to me, Tom, and he's gained 4 places since the start of his race, so he is moving. So he is quick on that hard tyre. Maybe we don't see it particularly now with P5, but that Audi, he was saying it's quick. So here's a look back. Here is Drumont and Santos. Moreno there, just a sitting duck in a straight line, getting just split there by Santos and by Drumont. And you must think of Moreno, oh, God damn it. What can I even do about that?
Ricardo Zonta Simulator 2026, that's what that was. Look at this.
Brave Drumont was there.
Super commitment. Good also awareness from Santos just to give him that racing room on the inside. Fantastic from Kylian Drumont and also Antonio Santos. Sad there for Moreno, but it might come back to him a little bit later on. He's still sitting on the coattails of the Lexus in 7th place as it stands for now. Point to mention as well for the likes of Pol Ura and Miroslav Kravchenko. I actually shared the taxi with them from the airport over to the venue here in Milan yesterday and was chatting away to them. They were saying that basically the cars that they're driving, the Mazda and the Lamborghini, not the fastest out there on track. They've struggled a bit with the balance of performance updates for 2026, and as such, that's why they're a fair way off as it stands for now. They'll be hoping for a bit more fortune and hopefully a little bit more pace later on this year. Now, delighted to be able to welcome to the commentary box Nico Menzel. Nico, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, you know the Nordschleife very well. What do you make of it in reverse?
It's unbelievable. I almost do not recognize it anytime. But, you know, it's actually... Now I can see there's a crazy track we're racing in, because I think we are used to drive the normal Nordschleife, and now you can actually feel the quick corners, the craziness about the barriers being so close, and it's great, cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the scariest part is the idea of coming down from Mudcove to Bergwerk at like 280 kph and then having to stop at the end there. I just can't imagine that in real life. But obviously, Gran Turismo here has a very accurate version of the ring, and you're very familiar with this Porsche here. I mean, did you find yourself using the simulators to try and prepare for these events?
Yeah, for sure. I also prepared myself for the 24. I mean, I'm used to drive this car on this track for many years, but still to get back in the rhythm, you know, after a while not being in the car is always helpful. And especially I practice the night, because the vision in the night is obviously different. I also practiced the bad weather in the night, which is very special on this track. And honestly, it helped me a lot during the night, especially just getting in the rhythm quicker. And it's fairly crazy to see, you know, back Arenbergkurve. And Schwedengott should be easy flat out that way, but another good opportunity for an overtake now, following all the way up to Flugplatz.
Yeah, you can see Serrano here sitting in the wheel tracks of Maximilian Krol as we come over that crest of the hill. He's going to pull to the outside of the Ferrari then, so it's Ferrari versus Porsche, Serrano versus Krol, and Serrano then with the outside line, which is going to flick to the inside line as they come over the crest and go into the left-hander, and the Spanish driver back through and into the lead once again. Fantastic commitment from Serrano and great driving also from Krol.
It's so foreign to me seeing these guys go that quickly. Like, there's no exit there for the Flugplatz. It's so mad. I mean, obviously we had the 24 recently. Very interesting experience for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you think if you have any advice to give these guys now? Of course, completely different experience, although maybe slightly similar. How would you? What advice do you give these guys driving on this circuit in this configuration?
I think it's about initial driving, really. Nordschleife requires a lot of initial driving skills, and I guess it's the same now going reverse. The trickiness, as you just said, is like, as now we can see the replay, slipstreaming all the way, using the side draft, also very important, and especially Lüttinghöhe, but also here, it's not only the slipstream following a car, but also the side draft, because at some point it slows you even down, so you gotta actually move to the side at some point to avoid that wave of airstream. You do not have the exit curbs, right? I mean, the exit curbs are now on the entry, and you used to try to use them to prepare your car better into the corners. But not having the exit curbs makes it even more special. So stay more or less on the tarmac, I'd say.
That's a good tip. Stay on the tarmac. I like that one. Good
so
tip.
We're coming towards the end of this second lap now here, and I think we're going to start to see the pit stops coming through from these medium shod runners, because they're coming towards the end of their tyre life, really. According to the strategy that we saw on screen earlier on, about 2 laps is what we're expecting for the medium runners. So that would be Serrano, Krol, Sejak and Balding all in to the end of the pit lane. Let's wait and see what they will do then, whether we'll see any changes further behind as well for those hard shot runners. Drumont, the gap now up to nearly 10 seconds between Balding and then the Frenchman. So in towards the pit lane we are about to go then, and surely we're going to see some drivers coming in, but the medium shot runners think they can get another lap out of it here then.
You know how this works by now, Tom. Yeah, you get your strategy and it gets thrown out the window. Although, mate, I don't know if there's like another pit lane or anything, because the start and finish line's in a different spot.
No, it's definitely the pit lane. It's the normal pit lane.
It isn't just like the TF car park or something?
Well, Yora's just come into the pit lane to give you an idea.
All right,
there he is.
I don't know about you, Nico, but when I see this, I get like a shiver. I'm like, oh god, they're going the wrong way up the pit lane.
Honestly, all the time.
But that's interesting as well for the hard shot runners, because you've got 4 or 5 drivers that haven't pitted there. Yura and Moxon, they've decided to try something differently here. So, I mean, that's a good thing for them in terms of they're now going to have a bit more pace here, Nico. But the problem is they're going to be on sort of more worn, softer compound of tyres later on in the race.
Yeah, but I think like the medium guys, they could actually manage their race a bit better because they had more or less free air, especially the first two guys, not fighting that much and just trying to save the tire as much as they can to just have one stop in the end. So I think there is a bigger benefit in the end to probably go whatever, like 3-4 seconds a lap slower, but therefore you don't have to stop another time.
So looking at Kroll here then in second position. Serrano, as we know, of course, back through into the lead last time around. Look at the gap that the top two have now been able to build over Mikołaj Sejek then here. Just looking at the sort of difference in sector times, Kroll was actually fastest overall in the entire race on that first sector, I beg your pardon, of the lap. And that was about 1.8 seconds quicker than Sejek. So clearly, I think the Polish driver's made a mistake.
Catch him, and here's a replay of maybe why that was. So it's just after the Dr. Her here, and he comes for this very tricky Garbenkopf there, just grabs the grass and then the wool, and just so easy to do that anywhere on this circuit here. What I was going to say is that, plus maybe some other things, he does have a lot more tyre wear than the cars around him. That front right tyre is looking pretty second hand there for Sejak, and he's got to bring that now all the way around the circuit, which is now a anti-clockwise circuit, so that's going to be tough for Sejak.
Do you think there could be a legacy of the drivetrain layout? It's a front engine, rear drive car, obviously more weight of the front axle, and that's causing the front tyres to scrub a bit.
For sure. I mean, once there is more force on the tire, it also gets stressed more. But probably you're not in the rhythm as you are, going the right direction, and you overturn the car here and there. So I think it's all about managing the driving style. Just turn as much as you really need, and overturning the front means also you scrub the front, you overheat it a bit, and therefore front tire can also have a bigger drop in the end of the day. I think this part honestly is one of the most scariest, isn't it? Going all the way down and now into the carousel. Crazy.
Yeah, it's where I had my unceremonious crash earlier when I was trying to drive it. You go down and think, oh, okay, and the front's loaded in the rear way, you try and brake and nothing happens, and you just go straight off into the woods. Obviously not ideal for our competitors, but turning into a bit of a two-horse race now on the medium runners. It's Serrano and Kroll. Sejak is starting to maybe bring a little bit of that gap back. He actually had the fastest Sector 5 of anyone, the last sector they went through just then. So the pace is still there for the Nissan driver, but the damage is done there at that earlier incident.
Keep an eye out as well for Jura. The gap there, 17.5 seconds between himself and Hafidi. That's going to come down because, of course, he's now on a quicker competitive tyre and a new competitive tyre. So let's see what sort of inroad he's going to be able to make now he's in clear air. You can see Maximilian Kroll all over the rear wing once again here of Jose Serrano. This is where, of course, we're getting into the circuit now. Will open up as we head in towards the sort of second half of it. You can see Serrano there just taking a wider sort of V line through the corner, but Kroll all over the rear wing here of this Porsche. It seems like a case of when and not if he's going to try and attack. We're going to come over the crest of the hill. Serrano just able to defend. Kroll gets out of the throttle a little bit early, just biding his time at the moment.
Look how steep it is down there. You never realise it when you're going the other way up there, but you almost fall down.
17%, on that occasion.
Ridiculous, 17%.
Steepest
and imagine trying to break down that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So if you're Maximilian Kroll here, Nico, you're sitting in this position in P2. Do you think it's a case of attack, or would you be sitting there waiting?
Honestly, in this part of the track, you're more the waiter. You're trying to have, like, as he does now, 50 meters distance to the car ahead, because otherwise you just scrub your front tires and you destroy them. GT3 cars, it's a lot of dirty air, a lot of aerodynamics, and it's all about saving the tire for actually then the GP circuit to make benefit out of that, having a good front axle there, and there you can overtake better. And it was in the grass there.
Yeah. Serrano just pushing the envelope here. He's got to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap, surely. I mean, those front tyres and the rears actually now are going to start crying out as we get already to the halfway stage of this race here at the Nordschleife. As you said, pretty much a two-horse race at the front, Jimmy. 2.7 seconds they've now got over Mikołaj Sejek. Just a point on Pol Jura. Gap was about 17.5 seconds. It's already down to under 16 seconds now.
Well, I mean, the question that's sort of being posed to us now, you think about it, these guys have made the medium tyre last another lap. Is that Dunlop soft tyre also going to last another lap? So, I mean, we tend to find that the name of the game is to just don't use the hard tyre. Hard tyre is lava. It has to be used, but it's just very slow. But we're seeing that on the other end of the spectrum there. Some of these guys are trying to take that hard tyre for as long as possible. So I wonder if that is just not the play, because that tyre at this point, hasn't worn that much compared to theirs. We see another fight for the lead here. Here comes Kroll, cruising back by Serrano. I never thought that would be an overtaking zone, but it seems to be our most overtaking zone of the race so far.
Yeah, to the delight of the Italian crowd here in Milan as well. They'd like seeing a Ferrari go through for the race lead here.
It's unbelievable, the crowd, honestly. I've barely seen something like it. I'm really...
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's amazing. It really is genuinely the loudest I think we've ever had in the GT World Series. So we're coming towards the end of the Nordschleife layout, as it were. We're going to be heading in towards the pit lane before long with these race leaders. Hengse there been given a warning for colliding with another car. Where's he? P8 at the moment in that Toyota. Different manufacturer for Hengse. And we'll see how he's going to fare over the course of this season. But so far, it's not been a particularly brilliant start to their year. They, of course, are former champions, but the pace, clearly the BOP, not working out for them at this early stage of 2026.
At that stage now, it's very important to be close to the competitor in front, because you know you're going to enter the GP circuit right now. So now it all opens up. It's a wider track, and now you have opportunities to overtake. So you're going to push all the way, like the last 1-2 kilometers before you actually enter the GP circuit, to be in a good overtake position, which did not really work out because the Ferrari had actually better traction out of.
Let's have a look here at Moreno and Santos then. This is in the battle for P6 in the race. Down the Dottinger, Moreno there using the slipstream to his advantage quite nicely and getting through on the Lexus.
But that's also the side draft effect. You see, now the car on the left actually regains some ground, and seeing like onboard sitting here, he should have actually moved to the right to be in a better position and to not give him that comeback on the straight. So it's not only slipstream but also side draft, really.
So coming towards the end of the lap, we're about to go then with Kroll, Serrano, Sejak and Balding. Surely they're going to have to pick, because those medium tyres are going to be absolutely crying for mercy now at this point. You can see there, especially for Sejak and Balding, those front tyres, of course, front engine rear-wheel drive cars for both the Nissan and the AMG, they are in a much worse state than the top two, as they do then jink over to the left-hand side, and they will come in for their first pit stop in the race so far. Now, which way are they going to go in terms of tyres? Do they go for the hard tyre, try and do one lap on those, and then try and extend the softs as long as they possibly can? Of course, they did one lap longer than we were expecting them to do on the medium tyres at the start of this one. And does everybody else follow suit? So Kroll and Serrano go onto the soft tyre then here. Sejak and Balding going for the hard tyre.
So for Sejak and Balding now, they're going to have to just do their best to try and get this hard tyre through the next lap as quick as possible. I have to think that soft tyre is capable of doing 2 laps. We will see now. I mean, this is the first time someone's used a soft in this race. But keep an eye on their tyre wear. That must be the play, surely.
Well, keep an eye out as well for the likes of Drummond, Santos, etc. All of those drivers who were on the hard tyre, they've now pitted onto the medium competitive tyre. The gap, 15 seconds before those pit stops. So surely they're going to be taking that time out of them hand over fist.
One interesting scenario, though, you box quite a bit before the start-finish line. So you have to really think about that when making the play. It might also mean that you could use your hard tyre before coming to the end of a lap, because surely you can box in the last lap, put on the hard tyre and just run to the lap. With that, you have to use it once. It doesn't say one lap, though, does it?
It's true. It's a very good point. What do you think?
Well, that's how I think Michael Schumacher won the race. 20 years ago in F1.
Oh, yeah, in Silverstone.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a look then at the race lead, changing hands between Jose Serrano and Max Kroll then. So the Spaniard now back through in the Porsche. This battle continues to rain on. They flick it through into that left-hander, taking absolutely no liberties on the soft tyres on this outlap.
They have to push this now. This is a push tyre. You have to go as quick as possible, make the most of it. You can see the car shuffling as it goes over the bumps and all the little crests there. And these two, what performance from Kroll. You know, a relatively unknown driver for us, but he is hustling one of the greatest GT drivers of all time in Jose Serrano. So really good performance to him and Team Ferrari so far.
Well, Nico, we must let you go and watch the race with the rest of this Italian crowd here. Thank you so much for joining us in the commentary box. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing what happens over the remainder of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun, guys. And it's going to be a good final, I think.
Cheers. Nice one. Cheers, fella. Thank you very much indeed. So, Jack Balding, we now ride on board with then in the wheel tracks of Mikołaj Sejak's Nissan. Over the crest of the hill we go, flicking it through into the right-hander. Both of these drivers on the hard competitive tyre. You can see Paul Ura, he's at a position now at this point. He's on the medium competitive tyre, having pitted a lap or so sooner. He's made good ground up into P5. He's going to have Drummond bearing down on him, though, before too long, because he's about 3.5 seconds behind the Spanish driver in that Mazda for now. So let's keep an eye out and see how this will work, because Ura is in that position where, as I said, he's out of sequence, so he's going to have slower pace than the soft-shod Drumont, but also those tyres are going to be wearing out quite quickly here. So let's see how it goes here for Pol Jura, and also crucially for Kilian Drumont. That gap down to, what's it now, 8 seconds. I think it was 15 according to our timing screen prior to the pit stop.
I'll let you be the keeper of Pol Jura time there, Tom. I've been looking elsewhere, so that's your one there. But as you say, tyre wear now is essential for the guys at the front, because they have to push this tyre as much as possible to try and defend from these guys who are going slower right now on that hard compounded tyre. But it's all the strategy is going to become clear at the end of this lap, basically. So we will just have to wait and see, and hopefully they can get through in one piece. Here's Kilian Drumont, so someone who's on the soft tyre. He's made up a lot of positions so far, currently up 3 from his starting position in that Audi, and looking quick as well. So just a poor qualifying session from him, really. That really hindered him at the start there.
Yeah, well, of course, he's changed manufacturers. He's gone from Subaru, spent many years with them, won the title in the Manufacturers' Cup back in 2022, let's not forget. And I spoke to him last night. I said, what was the idea behind changing from Subaru? You've been with them for so long. He said, I just think the Audi's got more potential. I've tried it out in testing. I've been doing loads of laps with it, and I think it is going to be the car to beat. So he clearly is confident with that. The results haven't materialised so far in qualifying, but now he's doing this alternative strategy. Is this going to be what will bring the Frenchman into at least the fight for the top 5 and to get some points on the board in this opening round of the season?
Yeah, I mean, what a place to do this for the first time here at the ring. These guys, fresh from the winter, having their time off. Like, a nice, easy way to get back into the GT World Series. Nope, never going reverse. And some have adapted better than others. Unfortunately, Kravchenko for Team Lamborghini, we've not really spoken about him. It's because he's just, unfortunately, been nowhere in the race. He's about 30 seconds behind the nearest competitor there, really struggling. So not the start that Team Lambo would have wanted to this World Series, the Manufacturers' Cup, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, nice to see him on the international stage, Miroslav Kravchenko. Lovely chap, actually. And unfortunate for his start to the season, and indeed the team start to the season so far. But, as you say, 35 seconds off the back of the field at the moment. So clearly he's had some kind of an incident, maybe hit the wall or something along the lines of that. Now, Kilian Drumont, the gap was about 3 seconds or so earlier on in the lap. It's now down to 2.1 seconds. It's a case of when and not if that Audi is going to launch an attack here on Pol Jura's medium-shod Mazda. Have a look at some battles going on then here between Serrano and Kroll. So we saw Serrano back through on Maximilian Kroll, but he ran it a bit wide there, just through the left-hander, off onto the grass. That's about as close of a warning sign as you're going to get.
I mean, it just goes to show around here. I mean, you really can't make any mistakes, because any small offline mistake and you just find yourself immediately in the grass. And luckily Serrano was able to avoid the barrier there, but that has allowed Kroll to get right back onto the rear spoiler there of the Porsche driver. And we know that run up from Arenberg up towards the Flugplatz, that is now the run for the change of position. So here is Kroll, and bear in mind these guys will be doing little dress rehearsals as well for that final lap. Is it a good idea to pass here, or do I wait for the back straight? And the thing is, the start-finish line is actually not that far into the Dottinger so I think this is going to be probably where we see our pass for the win at some point. Here comes Kroll again. He's done this one before. He'll do it again. Ferrari back up into the lead as we come into the Flugplatz, and I wonder now what's going through their head in terms of strategy. Tyre wear wise, I do not think they can do more than one lap on this tyre. It has to be 2 on the hard, but these guys, if anyone's going to prove us wrong, it'll be these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Just a point actually about Miroslav Kravchenko. I said he was quite a way off the back of the field. He actually hasn't pitted yet in this race. He started on the hard tyre. He is still on the hard tyre. So forgive me for that small indiscretion, but we'll wait and see whether Kravchenko is just trying something different, whether it will close him onto the back of the field. I think points are going to be fair way off of it for the German driver, but Kilian Drumont is the man on the move at the moment. Now 1.2 seconds off the back of Pol Jura's Mazda. That gap has slowly been coming down over the course of this one, and likewise Jura has also been breaking into the deficit of Balding in front of him. It was, as I said, about 8 seconds or so the last time we checked, now down to 5.2 seconds. The medium tyre, as we saw at the start of this race, about 2.2 quicker around this Nordschleife circuit than the hard tyre. So Sejak and Balding could be coming under pressure before the end of the next lap here.
Yeah, I mean, like in the real world, this Audi is a very nervous car. Short wheelbase, mid-engine as well. But Drumont doing a very good job to make it look easy at the moment as he slowly reels in Pol Jura in that Mazda. Pol Jura, of course, another very quick driver from Spain. We've got a pair of them here, and himself and Serrano. Kroll actually a little bit of a gap now, half a second towards Serrano, and they are coming round now to think about making their pit stop. So I do wonder. I mean, I'm looking. We have access to tyre wear here. We can see a little bit of that on our end, and a lot of the soft tyres are already down at about 50%. So. Here is our Dunlop pit stop prediction there. I don't think we're going to see more than one lap on that soft, Tom.
That's a tricky thing, isn't it? You could try and eke it out, but if you do, they are going to be screaming in pain at the end of that penultimate lap. And ultimately, that's going to, I think, cost you more time than you will lose with another lap on what would be the hard compound of tyre then for those two drivers at the front at this point in the race. And indeed, they come straight into the box. No surprise there at all. So hard tyres to the end of the race for Kroll and Serrano. Sedgak and Boulding, of course, they are doing something different. They started on the... they're going to be on the soft tyre, aren't they, in fact, at the end of the race, because they went for the hard tyre in the middle stint. So that could bring them right into play in terms of closing that gap down. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to be within striking distance, but never say never in the world of Gran Turismo. Either way, all three soft job runners, Kroll as well as Serrano and Drumont, all into the box. They go on to medium tyres for Drumont and hard tyres for the top two.
Now, this is interesting because they've come out in traffic with Moxon as well, who's on some fairly worn medium tyres, but we'll see what that pace differential is. And for Kroll and Serrano, ideally they're ahead of Moxon, but if Moxon gets ahead, that's really going to ruin their race plan. I mean, we had Nico here in the booth a second ago. He was saying that clean air super important around here. You have space in front of you, so right now that's okay. It looks like that Subaru is actually starting to fall off of the back there. We've always known historically it's not been the quickest in a straight line. Serrano there making his move back up into 6th position, and we think maybe the aggregate lead of the race. But this is where this race is going to start to get interesting, because Sedgak and Boulding, they owe a stop at the front on that hard compound tyre, but they've got that clear air now. Then on the last lap they're going to have a soft tyre and they're going to be rockets. So I think on circuit it's going to have to be an overtake on circuit for it to work out, but this is the way you have to get your calculators out. It gets very complicated here.
Well, let's have a look at the gap. What's it? 15 seconds, 15.2 seconds between Serrano and Sedgak as it stands for now. Both those drivers are on the hard compound of tyre. Serrano and Kroll were in the race lead. That's what we expect at the moment to be that race lead. They are now starting to pull away from Moxon, which is good news, because the last thing that Serrano and Kroll needed to do is start getting involved in a fight, start squabbling amongst one another, bring them back into Moxon's sort of wheel tracks, if you like, allow him to have a dive up the inside, and then it costs them time, because at the end of the race they could lose position once those final pit stops have worked out for the leaders at the moment of Sedgak and Boulding. So on board we are then here with Kroll, and so him and Serrano, basically they've got to work together. They're tied here at this point until it comes to the point where they're not, right at the very end of this race, but they've got to play it so smart over this next lap and a half or so.
Well, I mean, you say that, I'm a driver. I understand sometimes that you aren't very smart when you're driving. You see the guy in front of you, you think, you know what, I can have him, I'm quicker, I should be the one leading this train. And that's where it gets maybe a little bit tricky. But they've been playing nice so far, these guys. There's been no silliness, but Max doing a good job in that Ferrari. Very quick, and we've not really seen Ferrari at the sharp end properly like this for a while. A proper contender here. So I know it's been a lot of suffering for Ferrari fans across the world, but maybe this is your year. Maybe.
Hey, we'll wait and see how it works out. Just looking at the gap again between Sedgak and Serrano, it's actually increased up to now 16.3 seconds, and Kroll all over the rear wing of the 911 as we come through into the carousel. You can't go 2x2 through there. You can see Kroll modulating that throttle as he tries to get the power down as soon as he possibly can. And as we come through in towards the left-hander, it's still as you were between the German and the Italian manufacturer for now. See them there on the bottom corner of your screen. Serrano on the left and then Kroll on the right-hand side of your picture.
I've got to say, special mention there to Moxon, currently in 8th position, doing such a good job there. This is someone that only really used a gamepad until now, and now is moving over to the wheel and doing well on it. It's a hard transition to make. So, good job there for Moxon in P8.
Yeah, and a particularly big transition to jump onto the international stage here in the GT World Series with a very loud and passionate crowd behind you. It is a proper assault on the senses, and fair play to Callum Moxon sitting there in P8 in that Subaru. Let's see whether some points could be on offer for that manufacturer later on this season. Meanwhile, Kroll there again on the attack against the Porsche driver of Jose Serrano. Serrano again defending that line as we come through and flick it into the left-hander. We're heading in towards the sort of overtaking zone as we've found out over the course of this race so far, and you wonder whether Kroll is going to launch a move here on Jose Serrano. He's starting to look a little bit impatient, moving that car left, moving it right, and trying out a few different lines here.
I mean, I think the Kroll is faster because he's just stuck to the rear end of Serrano. I mean, there is a little bit of a draft you get from the car in front, but not this much. And I think that the reason that Kroll is so close is just he just has a quicker package right now. But Serrano, of course, ever the champ, just knows where to place his car, knows the strategy he needs to do to keep himself in the lead. But he's going to need all that experience now, all that skill, if he's going to keep this aggregate lead here from Kroll. So coming up now, this is Calvin Hart, but reverse as we now come down towards what is Adenauer Force. Say hello to the Rebel Tree on the right hand side. Hello Rebel Tree, hope you're doing well. And we move now down to where Kroll will be starting to think, okay, we are on the second to last lap. I know where I can pass him, but can he pass me back if I'm leading there? It becomes a bit of a chess game here, which feels a bit ridiculous when these guys are navigating a half marathon each lap of corners. It's insane.
Yeah, that gap had stabilised at about 16.2 seconds. It stayed roughly about the same over the course of the lap so far. You can see Kroll there just feathering the throttle, such as the overspeed that he's got here on Jose Serrano. And is he going to launch a move into the left-hander? Not quite at the moment, but again, he's there ready for the taking, ready to pounce. As we come through that left-hander.
Sorry, Tom, Serrano there was actually sideways on the exit, so really pushing the Porsche. So here comes Kroll, he's going to draft all the way up the hill now, so has the overspeed of Serrano in front. Serrano goes to the inside to defend all he can really do. Kroll goes around the outside. We've seen this move many times already, and Kroll back ahead of Serrano. That puts him, of course, in firing range for the Donyehur in about a minute or so's time. So what Kroll really needs to do here is just try and make a gap on that GP circuit, try and get away. So obviously he's been saving a little bit behind Serrano here. Tyre-wise, they're looking quite similar, but if there's anywhere to push, he needs to push on that GP circuit. He needs about a second and a bit, I think, to stay away from Serrano. And right now, Serrano, likewise, is glued to the back of that Ferrari. So this fight is going to go down to the wire if it stays like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sedgwick and Boulding, as we know, of course, they're on the alternate strategy on that hard compound of tyre as it stands for now. So don't discount them from this one. Let's see whether that proves to pay dividends for them. But as I say, I still think Kroll and Serrano, I just think they're working quite nicely at this particular point. They're not costing each other too much time. They're not tripping over each other corner by corner. They're not sending one off fire one on the outside. Sedgwick, meanwhile, has picked up a penalty. Red dot flashing next to his name. Presumably, that's track limits, because we didn't see anything coming up on screen saying that anything's under investigation. So maybe he's just ran over a curb and been a bit too greedy. But either way, that could drop him behind Boulding here.
So he's done that just after the penalty line. So where is it? It's coming on to the GP circuit. It must have been a chicane here. Yeah, just maybe taking a bit too much there inside of the white line. And this is usually where you serve the penalty, right here. But he was awarded it just afterwards, so that means he's going to have to serve that penalty on the last lap. So any fight he's in, he needs about a second around him to survive that. So that's really going to change the landscape of this race. But it just shows you how hard he's pushing at the front there just to try and make that time up.
They're just about to come into the pit lane here as well, Jimmy. So Sedgwick and Boulding are about to come in. Likewise, Jura, Hengsay and Moreno, who were, as we said, a little bit out of sequence earlier on in this one. So we'll see what it looks like between Jose Serrano and Kroll as they come through this final sector. Then they do not owe another pit stop in this race, just to remind you, as it stands for now. So Sedgwick in, Boulding in, as well as Paul Jura, Hengsay and Moreno. So 2 hard shod and 3 medium shod runners, and look at it, a plethora of soft tyres, which is going to be such a headache for the likes of Kroll and Serrano at this one. They're going to be on the hard tyres right now to the end, and is it going to leave them vulnerable on this final flying lap, or are we going to see the top 2 still battling amongst one another for victory? So through into the left-hander we go, back onto the Nordschleife for the penultimate time. It's Kroll that leads from Jose Serrano, half a second, but what's the gap to the likes of Sedgwick and Boulding? That's the important one. 10.5 seconds. Of course, Sedgwick, as we know, has got that half-second penalty. It's not insurmountable, because it's about 6.6 seconds over the course of a lap is what we reckon the delta is between the hard and the soft tyre. So that could bring Sedgak and Balding right into play in the closing stage of this one. Eyes, though, on the front of this race, and eyes on Jose Serrano blasting to the inside, down the Döttinger Hill on Max Kroll as we come in towards the left-hander. The Porsche, once again, is back through on the Ferrari into the lead.
You know, Max is probably going to allow that because he's not thinking about this pass here. He's thinking about the pass up towards the Flugplatz in about a lap's time or half a lap's time. So this is where now they need to keep his cool. If you're Jose Serrano, you've got to push now. You've got to try and make a gap. We've seen that this Ferrari has the legs in a straight line, so Serrano needs to use every bit of cornering performance from that Porsche in front there to try and get away. But what an impressive performance here from Max Kroll in that Ferrari. Doing so well here, and yeah, I mean, really showing that Ferrari can fight at the top.
I was just about to say, Drumont's done really well to get himself into fourth place, but Balding's just managed to mug him on those soft tyres at the end of this one. So Drumont, he's got, what, 5 seconds over Pole Euro. That might be enough for him to hold on to a top 5 finish and bag a couple of points for Audi in his debut for that team. But Max Kroll, we're on board with him then here. 10 seconds the deficit down to Sedgak, so they might be okay if they don't squabble too much over the course of this lap. If they start knocking 7 bells out of each other, it might allow Sedgak to close the gap down and maybe launch something towards the end of it. But as it stands for now, it's Ferrari and Porsche that are battling for victory.
They just don't have the speed, Sedgak, right now. He needs to really just up his game, to be honest. 9 seconds is a lot around here, and I don't think he's going to catch unless he really has a mega lap or these guys start fighting. Saying that, the gap is coming down, so never say never. We know how quick Sedgak is in that Nissan, but he does have that penalty to contend with as well, that flashing red dot for a track limit warning he picked up at the end of the last lap. So it's got to be huge here from Team Nissan. But Serrano and Kroll, these guys have been just tied together for the entire race, it feels like. It's been awesome viewing here as Serrano really pushing now down towards the carousel. Really easy place to get things wrong, of course, if you saw from my footage a bit earlier on, as the sun begins to set here, and Kroll really attacking the entry of the carousel here, right onto the back of that Porsche. Familiar sight for him, but what a great fight this has been so far.
What a great job as well from Max Kroll. Let's not forget this, the GT World Series. Let's have a look at Balding and Drumont. We saw they were under investigation for a collision earlier on. There's Sedgak up in front with the penalty. Through the mini carousel we go. Balding just gives a little tap to the rear. He's going to slide his way to the inside. I think that's okay, to be honest with you. Bit of rubbing, bit of racing, and a bit of confusion. But either way, Balding through on the Frenchman in the Audi for fourth place for now. But Serrano and Kroll, the drivers that we've got our eyes on at the sharp end of this one, with just over half a lap to go here in the first race of the Manufacturers' Cup in 2026. And Kroll looking aggressive, looking menacing on the outside there of the Porsche, but no way through for now.
These two guys absolutely rocketing down towards Bergwerk now. Speeds of 270 plus kph. The front brake discs there glowing the force of trying to slow these cars down to that part of the circuit. Serrano, his mirrors full of Ferrari. Max Kroll has really shown the pace of this thing as we now come to what is realistically the last few places to look at overtake now. If you're Max Kroll, we know where he likes to try and do this. He's waiting for his run out of Arenberg up towards Flugplatz, but he needs to be close for that to work. He can't let Serrano get away, and right now he's basically pushing the Spaniard along. This must be such a weird feeling for Serrano. He's been dominant over the last couple of events here, and now is really being made to work for it. We love to see it here, of course, in the GT World Series. Our first round of the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final coming to a head here with only half a lap to go at the ring.
Well, we saw that Max Kroll is in the final year of his apprenticeship at the moment, and he's certainly earning his stripes in his apprenticeship in the GT World Series, this being his first event on the debut stage. He's all over the back of the old hand of Jose Serrano, looking for a way through, but Serrano blocks the line, holds the apex for now. We come through the left, then we come through the right. We're going to start the circuit beginning to open up as we head into the next series of it. And are we going to see Kroll being able to launch an attack? Will Serrano be able to defend any form of attack from the Italian driver? And of course the Italian crowd here in Milan, let's not forget, they would love to see a Ferrari taking the victory.
Such is the pace of these two, is that Sedgak's only really managed to gain about a second on that soft compound tyre over the hards. These guys pushing really hard right now. And now if you are Max Kroll, you are thinking, right, okay, here is my chance to strike. What do you do though as Jose Serrano up the hill to defend this? I think you just have to sit in the middle of the road and hope maybe to make things difficult. You can't intentionally block here, but whatever happens now, we're about to get our answer.
So through into the left-hander we go then. Serrano it is that leads. Maximilian Kroll hunting him down then, trying to fight for victory, fight for Ferrari's first top step of the podium since 2024. Serrano, of course, the reigning champion with that Porsche team, would love to continue where they left off at the end of 2025. Let's see, though, how it is all going to work out. On board we ride here with Max Kroll. Serrano defending the line to the inside, forcing Kroll to the outside. Side by side they go, and Serrano does manage to hold on to the race lead for now, but has Kroll got anything left in his pocket? Can he launch an attack and a retaliation on his way through the next series of corners? Again in the slipstream, he looks to the inside, but Serrano defends that line, holds the apex and holds the race lead as we head and blast towards the GP circuit for the last time.
I thought we were going to see a huge crash there, Tom. He really had to go on the outside there, but Serrano obviously just waiting. I think he backed him up there on the apex and then just got away because Kroll was nowhere near where he was previously, and the result of that now is Serrano is still ahead and he's rapidly running out of chances to make this move for the lead. But that is experience. That is someone who's won the championship before, who's won Manufacturers and Nations Cup. You're never going to have an easy time racing Jose Serrano there, and Max Kroll finding that out the hard way.
So let's see how it works out as we head on towards the Grand Prix circuit for one more time. Of course, they'll go on to the Döttinger. That's where the finish line is. They clip their way over the curb. Serrano it is that still leads, 0.3 of a second in his pocket, and it's so difficult to fire one through on the inside here. There's not really an opportunity for Max Kroll. He's in the slipstream here. He's closing that deficit down, but he's not going to be there to launch one on the inside of the Porsche as we flick it through the left and then the right-hander. He needs to try and pressure Jose Serrano into a mistake, but we know that the wise old head of the Spaniard, relatively speaking to the young pretender of Max Kroll, he is so calm under pressure here is Jose Serrano, and he is soaking it up like a sponge.
A much better lineup there for Kroll and Serrano, but we come into the arena section now and really you're running out of opportunities to make this move. You have maybe one last lunge into the hairpin if you're feeling very brave, but we know Serrano's going to cover that. On board with Max Kroll now, you sense a little bit of desperation from the German driver in the Italian branded Ferrari as we come into now the last real proper overtaking zone. Looks maybe to go into the back of him, no, not quite there, and now it's a run up the straight into the Döttinger. Sedlak and Balding fighting behind, but I just don't think, Tom, there's enough time left.
No, Serrano got a really, really strong exit out of that final corner in particular. Well, relatively speaking, as we come on to the second but last straight then here at the Nürburgring. And Serrano is going to be under pressure here from Kroll, but we flick it through the left, we flick it through the right. He needs to hope for a mistake from the Spaniard as we blast on towards the Döttinger for the final time. So it's Serrano versus Kroll. It's Porsche versus Ferrari for not the first time that we've said in the Gran Turismo World Series. And as we head towards the timing line, which of these two drivers is going to win it? Will it be the reigning champion or will it be the young pretender? As we get ready to take the checkered flag here, Serrano pulls to the inside as Kroll slipstreams him, and to take the checkered flag there's contact over the line and Serrano wins it for Porsche. A phenomenal drive from the reigning champion to continue where they left off at the end of the 2025 season. It's the Spaniard and the German manufacturer on top ahead of the German in the Italian car here at the Nordschleife, and Balding in the Mercedes AMG will take a podium on his debut in the GT World Series. Also a fantastic drive, calm, composed and controlled. As you said, Jimmy, there is no substitute for experience.
You have to think there, Kroll just lost that on the last lap. I think he had every chance to beat Serrano there, but maybe just didn't position his car in the right way coming out of Arenberg, and that was his place to overtake. That was his place to make that move and just couldn't quite get it done. But great to see Serrano there, still hungry and just always the man to beat. Of course, as we said, big congratulations to Jack Balding as well on his debut straight away on the podium for Team AMG. Strong start there for the German manufacturer, seeing them come back into the fray as well. But really the story today was about two people and two brands, Serrano and Kroll, and Porsche and Ferrari. A great battle there throughout the race.
Amazing job from Jose Serrano and Maximilian Kroll. Fantastic to kick off the GT World Series in 2026 with such a strong battle. There's Valerio Gallo, former Nations Cup champion. He'll be hoping to do the business in a couple of hours time when we get our first race underway there, but well It is time for action to begin in 2024. Manufacturers' Cup then. Here is the first grid of the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series. Starting on pole position on home soil at the Autodromo de Interlagos, it is Igor Fraga. Takuma Sasaki joins him on the front row of the grid with Guy Barbara in the AMG Mercedes third. Next up is former Nations Cup champion Valerio Gallo. It's an all-American third row with Robbie Heck for Mazda spearheading that, just ahead of Dean Helt in the Genesis. Genesis fresh off the back of their podium last year in the World Finals. Callum Roach lines up 7th with Alonso Regalado in the Ferrari 458. Italia in 8th position. Angelo Nostroza, new challenge for him with the Subaru this year. Not working out so far, down in 9th place on the grid. Donovan Parker rounding up the top 10. Nicholas Iriagada is in 11th in the Audi R8. And then Adriano Carazza botched his qualifying lap in the Toyota Supra, giving himself a lot of work to do. Now, Jimmy, I'll first look at the tyres here, and we can see the top five, I should say, starting on the softs.
Yeah, unsurprising, really. If you're Igor Fraga at the head of this field, you want to try and get away as soon as possible. The worst possible thing on these opening laps is to get involved in a fight and lose time. That's how tight the margins are in these races. Towards the back of the field, of course, it's interesting to see it go down as far as 6th to 12th on that hard compound tyre. So we're going to have two groups at the start of this race. Let's see how it pans out over the course of 30 laps.
Yeah, really keen to see what Adriano Carazza can do. You wonder whether he may have just gone, for the soft tyre to go and get those on in the early stages, but he's decided to go for the hard, decided to go for the same strategy as everybody else around him, and let's see what he'll be able to do and what kind of progress he'll be able to make up in the field. His best hope, I'm sure, is to try and get himself to the head of the hard compound runners up into 6th place. Anyway, let's stop talking, let's start racing. We're ready to go then. 2024 Gran Turismo World Series is underway here in Montreal as we go green at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Igor Fraga leads the field across the timing line down in towards the centre S. Sasaki in 2nd, Barbara in 3rd place. No moves being made courtesy of the rolling start, spreading that field out a little bit more. But the run through this left-hander on the run down the Retroposta could give us an opportunity to see some moves being made. Igor Fraga doesn't have the benefit of that slipstream, that hole being punched in the air in front of him, so he'll be a bit down on straight line speed, but he holds his lead for now as we come through to the left of turn 4. It's as you were at the front.
Yeah, difficult to overtake on this first lap. As you say, rolling start just spread the cars a little bit here. But now going into this middle sector, it seems that Gallo in the Honda has closed up onto the back of Guy Barbara ever so slightly, as has Barbara onto Sasaki. So the 2nd, 3rd and 4th very close right now. Already a penalty there for Arriagada. We have to think maybe for some track limits there. Carazza up into P11. On board now with Valerio Gallo for Team Honda. Great view here of the train in front. Now it's the first lap now, so it's about trying to get into that rhythm as soon as possible. So any sort of weakness right now will just be magnified tenfold by the fact that the cars are all so close together. Coming now down to the last big break of the course. Now it's just all about horsepower up the hill here. Now Gallo's out, Fraga is out front. He'll be giving a tow to Sasaki, Barbara and Gallo, who we are on board with now. Let's see what these cars are like in a straight line.
So, on board we ride here then with Gallo as we come to the timing line. He's closing up to the back of Barbara. Barbara in turn is not too far away from Takuma Sasaki. Sasaki is very handy in the straight line in that Porsche. Are we going to see Gallo go for a lunge to the inside when he closes up under braking? Carazza in at the end of the first lap, the only of the hard shot runners to do so. So I wonder if he's going to do an alternate strategy. Is he going to do a 2-stopper here potentially, JB? Get onto the soft tyres and then do 2 stints on them potentially?
Yeah, I was just having a look over to his rig there. Got onto the soft compound he goes. So he's just going aggressive early. Now he needs to do this. We mentioned this earlier on. He needs to find some way to insert himself in that pack out there. Now, what he's done by putting himself on that soft compound tyre and pitting now is giving himself a massive gap. You can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen the track map. That last little arrow there, that's Carazza. He's got that gap just to drive into, and hopefully, he needs to find that time because he's got to make an extra pit stop as well.
So we see Fraga controlling the field out in front. Half a second the advantage he has over Takuma Sasaki. It's not a comfortable advantage by any stretch of the imagination, but we know that Fraga soaks up the pressure like a sponge. He's doing a fantastic job, as he always does, at the helm of this field. Very rarely does he make mistakes. You can see Dean Helt there, 6th place. He's in. He's got a flashing red light next to his name. That indicates he's picked up a penalty. Whether that's for track limits or for contact, I don't know. I would assume track limits, given the fact we've not seen any other graphics flashing up on the screen indicating that he's got himself into some strife.
Yeah, the red marker of doom, that one. Never want to see that next to your name. Meanwhile, Gallo pretty much pushing Guy Barbara along on the straight here, already up the inside there. Now, who has the most horsepower? That AMG is quick in a straight line. As soon as Gallo pulled out of the slipstream there, the car just fell away from him. So this could be a challenge for Gallo. Looks at the inside, late on the brakes goes Valerio Gallo, dives up the inside there, parks it on the apex, defends the corner, up to third goes Valerio Gallo. That is the move of someone who's done that many times before.
Yeah, these guys have raced each other, of course, in the online season, but also they've been racing for a good number of years before that, so they know instinctively how the other driver is going to behave. You just get a sort of sixth sense almost, and Gallo sending it to the inside there, clean, decisive and clear. He needs to now be careful to not get involved in a squabble with Barbara if Barbara tries to retaliate, because it will allow Sasaki and Fraga to clear off into the sunset, essentially.
Now these guys, they are going to be looking back now, Fraga and Sasaki. They're going to realise that there has been a change in position. The fight at the back of the field at the moment is absolutely fantastic, by the way. We don't have it on our screens, but 8th, 9th and 10th having a fantastic scrap. We'll stay with Gallo for now, though, at the moment in this third group. Now the question really remains is, can he now take the gap down between him and Sasaki? I think he's got the pace at the moment.
I think you're absolutely right, and as you say, that squabble going on further down the order that we were talking about there, that's Dean Howell. He served his penalty last lap, as we saw that flashing red light next to his name, and now he's involved in a squabble with Regalado, Inestrosa, and also Donovan Parker in the mix there as well. Sasaki now beginning to close up, and Gallo bringing himself back into the rhythm, so the 2 becomes a 3 as they come out of that final corner and aim it for the time in line. Lap 3 out of 20, about to begin lap 4 we are. Fraga still soaking up that pressure at the moment from Sasaki. Now you wonder whether Sasaki might try and do an undercut here to get himself past Igor Fraga, go for a lap longer on the softs, but Sasaki a lot of closing speed on the brakes into that first corner. Little bit of a warning sign. You can see further back you've got Robbie Heck now coming under some pressure as well from Guy Barbara, who's dropped back behind the Mazda driver. So it's not been a good couple of laps here for Guy Barbara as he now pops himself into the slipstream of the Mazda. Down the Retroposta we go. In front we're side by side almost there as Sasaki and Gallo were going pretty much wheel to wheel into turn 4.
That was clever there from Guy Barbara. He could have thought that more and lost more time, but I think he knows that the guys in front have the pace over him, so he's basically going to get dragged along, and they're going to keep this pack of 5 cars together, which is important for everyone's race here. Now Gallo has moved right up onto the back of Sasaki after Sasaki's half move on Igor Fraga. He said he might try and undercut him, nearly just moved him into T1 there, so the stewards will have a keen eye on the racing here today. Now through this middle section, it feels so slow compared to the rest of the circuit. You've got to be patient on that throttle pedal coming out of it, otherwise you start burning those rear tyres. And these soft tyres, they're pretty susceptible to wheel spin. If you get those spinning, you heat them up and you can't really get them back into the window where they once were. So time management is crucial here, but you wouldn't believe it from the way these guys are driving.
Just having a look there, Alonso Regalado picking up a warning for bump drafting. That means he's sort of pushing Caleb Roach along in 6th position, and the stewards don't like that sort of thing. Also, further back, I'm looking at the gap that Karatza had. It was 9 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now down to 6 seconds. He, of course, is on a quicker combat of tyre. He's lapping some 2 seconds faster as Gallo has a half look to the outside there of Sasaki into the first corner. But keep an eye out for that gap with Karatza and Arriagada at the moment. That'll be crucial coming into the latter stages of the race, because he's still got to run that hard combat of tyre. My bet is he'll try and do 2 stints now. Sorry, he's done the hard combat of tyre. He did that on the first lap, but he's got to try and make up that deficit because he's doing an extra pit stop. So we'll see how it's all going to work out. He just has a little bit of contact there with Angel Inestrosa as they go side by side down the start-finish straight. Parker's got the outside line. He's got track position down into T1. He goes up into 8th place. So there's a great nose-to-tail battle going on the fringes of the top 10. And this is all for those important points.
Yeah, as mentioned before, we've sort of got 2 groups running that will come back together when these strategies all converge towards the end of the race. To give you some idea of how that soft tyre is comparing to the hard tyre right now, Karatza has gained about 4 seconds on the car in front since he pitted on that alternative strategy. Karatza down in 12th place with Team Toyota right now. Meanwhile, we'll go back to the action now. Robbie Heck, at the moment, the person we were on board with, just ahead of us right now with Guy Barbara, Heck has the fastest lap of anyone in that Mazda. So there is speed in that Mazda, it seems. Just not quite over the course of 1 lap, but all 5 cars still within about 1.5 seconds of each other. So this race is anyone's at this point. Fraga doing, as you said before, a really great job of just sort of driving them around, keeping them there. Meanwhile, Sasaki having to go defensive from Gallo. Gallo looking around the outside now in the NSX. Can he make this stick? Trying the long way around to be on the inside, though, for this right-hander. It's getting very tight as we go through here. Now Sasaki has the alternative line on the inside and just about stays ahead for now. Look at the gap that's given Fraga instantly.
The problem with Sasaki is he's tighter onto that left-hander. It's compromised his run down this retro aposta. He goes for the defensive line, but Gallo's going to pull to the outside here. Sasaki moving over in the braking zone. The stewards are not going to like the look of that. Parks it on the apex of the corner. Again, that's going to compromise his run. Gallo pulls to the inside there as he challenges for second. As we come down into the right-hander, Sasaki's going to have track position here. Is he going to muscle out Gallo as Gallo tries to firm it around the outside in the Honda NSX? Surely Gallo's not going to be able to make this stick, and indeed he can't. Sasaki parks the car on the apex, tries to get the over and under, switch it back on the inside. This is fantastic racing between these two drivers, and Sasaki defending. Gallo tries to send it to the inside, but Sasaki is still there ready and waiting, and all the while they're doing this, Fraga's clearing off out in front.
That was some amazing racing there between Porsche and Honda. Sasaki and Gallo respectively, just showing that you can go wheel to wheel and not have contact. I mean, take note of that, F1, at some point if you want to. So, going up the hill now to come on to lap 7 of this race here at Interlagos, and Gallo's going to have another look. He's now desperate to get by. He knows he is faster at this stage. Here we are again, back in the draft, back in the slipstream, down towards T1. Will he go outside again? He's trying the outside line once again. I don't think he's quite as close as he was. So he's going to try and cut back in. I think what he's trying to do is just put Sasaki off his line a little bit through this complex and get a better run coming down the second straight here, but not quite as close as before. But as you said, all that going on, all those overtake opportunities means that Igor Fraga has now got a little bit of breathing room out front.
Keep an eye out for Guy Barber and Robbie Heck in the background as well, because it's gone from a two-way to a potential four-way fight here as well as they come through the left-hander. That's the trophy these drivers all want to lay their hands on at the end of the season. Just a reminder of the competition format, we've got 12 drivers here. We'll have another new 12 drivers going into Prague later on this year, and then for Tokyo likewise the same thing. All three of those drivers for that specific manufacturer will come together as a team of 3, and then we'll have the grand finals taking place later on this season. As we see Iriagada there just picking up a warning for colliding with another car. Fraga 1.3 seconds. The gap has kind of stabilised out in front. Karatza meanwhile right at the back of the field. He's closed right up to within half a second of Donovan Parker, courtesy of those soft tyres.
So that's actually a bit of a disaster for Karatza, because now he's back where he started, trying to get through the cars on slower compounded tyres, but burning his soft tyre at the same time. Saying that, he goes up into P11. So we'll keep an eye on Karatza down in P11.
2 seconds faster per lap, though, is Karatza at the moment. So you imagine he's going to try and make easy work of those drivers in front. But the thing is, like you say, you've still got to run a slower lap time because you're working your way through traffic.
It just depends where you catch him. If you get him on the corner exit, lovely. But if you're trying to catch him for the middle sector where everyone is on one line, you're just wasting the life of that soft compounder tyre, and it can really come back to haunt you as the race goes on. Now, the gap to the front, I'd say that Fraga isn't actually the quickest of this pack at the moment. I'd say he is quite the quickest of the 3. Now, here's a replay. Here is Heck and Barbara going down towards T1. What happens here?
Down into the break zone. Sasaki versus
Gallo again.
Yeah, and then Heck versus Barbara. Barbara tried to send it to the inside. Heck said, no way, and I'm going to hold on to 4th place. But you see Barbara right on that rear wing. Heck running a little bit wide. Was there a smattering of contact maybe through the second part of that corner? They ran side by side down this back straight, and is Heck going to be able to get the advantage with Barbara on the outside there? Barbara's got the inside line. Does he run it a bit deep? Yeah, he does, and Heck is just going to try and close up, but Barbara does manage to get himself back into 4th place eventually.
Yeah, so that was going on while we had that awesome battle with Sasaki and Gallo. So I think nice to go back and see that. We can't unfortunately look at 2 things at the same time, as much as we try our best. But the gap is coming down at the front, down to a second now. So there is speed in this pack. I get the impression that maybe Igor is just sort of controlling this a little bit, maybe just saving the tyres, saving the fuel,
playing the long game.
Nice and easy. Ariagada there does pick up a penalty. So yeah, unfortunately for him, things go from bad to worse. Karatza getting a warning for colliding with another car. How often have we seen that on our screens?
Yeah, he's not afraid of getting his elbows out, is Adriano Karatza. And the thing is, like you say, he's admired in that pack at the moment. He's got to make his way through the traffic. If he's hitting the traffic at the wrong time, even the fact that closing speed might just be that little bit closer as well. As we sit on board here with Valerio Gallo, he's got box office seats to the battle in front with Takuma Sasaki and Igor Fraga. The gap has now come down. It's under a second, so Sasaki's going to be back into slipstreaming range at this point now, and of course Fraga doesn't have the hole being punched in the air in front of him.
Yeah, everyone on the soft compound tyre was quicker than Igor Fraga on that lap. Actually, apart from Karatsa, who got caught in traffic. His last lap time, Karatsa on that soft tyre, was 32.1. All these guys are doing 31.0s. So that's the difference, just trying to get through that traffic there. But again, we'll keep an eye on that. So still on board with Valerio Gallo. He's just a bit quicker through this mid-section. I don't know if he's burning a tyre more. I don't know if his car is better suited to this circuit than the Porsche in front. But he just seems to have that little bit more pace at the moment. But there's just nowhere to go, nowhere to use it.
Well, we'll see what happens here for Valerio Gallo. At the moment, he's driving a really good race because he's in that unfortunate position of having to attack and defend at the same time. He's got to keep an eye on his mirrors of Guy Barbara behind, but also doesn't want to let Takuma Sasaki get too far out in front at the moment. You can see the gap now visibly coming down for the race lead here with Igor Fraga, half a second. So has he pushed his tyres that little bit too hard too soon? You can look at the front tyres on that Lexus down to 18%. So he's going to have no grip left. Is he going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap to get those soft tyres off? He is. Fraga boxes early at the end of lap 9. That is a bit of a surprise. We're kind of getting to the pit window. You can see another couple of other drivers following him through there. They want to stay as part of that pack, but crucially, Sasaki and Barbara feel okay with their car so far. They're carrying on.
They go onto soft as well, so they're going for the two-stop strategy, and you have to use both compounder tyres, so that's interesting to see that there as we come on now out of the pit lane. Now, as they've gone onto the soft compounder tyre, this overcut from Sasaki I don't think is going to work. These guys are going to be a little bit quicker, well they should be anyway, on their outlap than Sasaki is now, but it'll be interesting to see what the Porsche driver can do in clear air, because as we said, they all moved up onto the back, but I'm really surprised by the tyre wear on that Lexus. That was awful compared to the cars around it.
I'll tell you who that might scupper as well is Adriano Karatsa. We wondered if he was doing a bold, different strategy, going for a two-stopper in that race, but if everyone else is doing the same, it kind of negates that advantage, doesn't it?
I think it'll be a free-stopper for him in the end. I think he has to do that. So, but that all started with 1 more second qualifying, just shows you how close it is here in the World Series Manufacturers Cup. 10 laps on the board, 20 to go. We're looking at Igor Fraga, who we believe will be our leader once all is said and done. Sasaki and Guy Barbara opting to stay out for one more lap on their soft tyres. We'll see if they come in now. Barbara actually benefiting, I think, from the tow from Sasaki. I mean, at the moment, these top 5 cars are really not separated by anything. It's anybody's game. Will we see these guys now peel into the pit lane? Sasaki goes for one more lap, and Guy Barbara dives into the pit lane. So, do you think we're going to see a one-stop attempt for Sasaki?
You see Dean Helt there as well. He's picked up a penalty. He's gone from bad to worse for Genesis, down in 12th position at the moment. Into the pits then comes Guy Barbara. So soft again, like the others around him. But he, as you said, has gone for one lap longer. The advantage for that is that he's going to have 1 lap fresher tyres when everybody else comes into box.
See where he comes out then. You can see the mini-map. Here comes Fraga, here comes Gallo. Barbara is just the other side of that barrier at the moment. Fraga comes out just ahead then of the Australian driver. There is Gallo, Heck then behind. Where has Barbara come out? He's behind the pack there. So that was definitely the worst decision there, to stay out on that tyre. But he is still, importantly, within that slipstream range. And if you're still there, if you're still within the range of that tow, you're still pretty much there in that pack. Now, Karatsa's coming in. The first person to stop goes for his second stop onto a fresh set of those soft tyres. Parker coming off the hard tyre onto the soft as well. So the race starting to get into the strategic elements now. We'll try and keep track of all these pit stops here up on the desk.
Just having a look at the sector times there between Sasaki and Fraga, just to give you an idea of the difference as well. Sasaki 23.1 in sector 1, Fraga 22.7, half a second there and thereabouts quicker than the man in second place who's on the fresher soft compound tyres.
And again, the quickest man on circuit right now is Robbie Heck in that Mazda. He is the fastest first sector of anyone, saying that though Igor Fraga has just done the fastest middle sector of anyone. Will Sasaki stay out again?
Nearly 9/10 of a second faster in that second sector was Igor Fraga. He's chomping into that leader. Sasaki then comes into the pit lane then. Where's he going to go in terms of strategy? Is he going to diverge compared to his colleagues around him? I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to do so. If he does, it's going to really cost him quite dearly indeed. Soft tyres onto soft tyres, but crucially, where's he going to emerge in relation to those other 4 drivers?
So why would he go on to soft tyres a couple of laps later? You're probably asking. Now, this buys him basically a couple more laps on the soft at the end of the race compared to others who will likely have to go to the hards earlier. So let's see. Igor Fraga then leads the race from Valerio Gallo. Where is Sasaki? He comes out, it looks like, behind Guy Barbara. So after all that, Porsche down from second to 5th position. But it's a long race yet, and I think this is a strategic call for the end of the race. But for now, down to P5.
2 laps newer tyres as well he'll have at the end of this stint, which could prove to pay dividends for him. So he might be playing the long game here to Takuma Sasaki, just to try and see whether it works to give him an advantage later on in the race. Meanwhile, further back, Calum Roach there with Alonso Regalado, Angel Enestrosa for company as they come and flick it through that right-hander. You can see Regalado in the Ferrari 458. It's not been a particularly happy hunting ground for him here so far as he flicks it through. He's keeping an eye out for that mirror full of Angel Enestrosa at the moment in the Subaru Impreza, the Subaru, I should say, BRZ, which hasn't particularly been a happy debut for him in that car so far.
Well, I've not seen much of these guys yet. We've been focusing on the pack at the front, but these guys will become a bit more relevant as the race goes on. So it's Roach, Regalado and Enestrosa. As we said before, that Subaru has always been a fairly decent bet if you want to try and predict who's going to win that, of course. Right now, it's down in 8th position. Let's look at the tyre life. Very, very good on its rear tyres is that Subaru. But I think it's owing to the fact it's a little bit lighter than the cars around it. But you can see now the downside to it being lighter. It also has less power and just being pulled away from by Regalado and by Roach. Regalado goes to the inside then of the American driver. Can you get the move made into T1? Roach very, very late on the brakes there, keeping Regalado on the alternative line. Now a little bit of him. So here comes Enestrosa sideways as Roach gathers it up. Is Enestrosa going to go around all of them? He's there side by side now, but he's not quite got the power of the BMW as we go now down towards the left-hander. Can he make the move stick? No, I think he's stuck on the inside. Regalado looking there as well. 3 wide into the corner down the bottom. Oh my word, they still haven't finished, Tom.
No, they're still going on for it. I wonder if the stewards might be having a look at Calum Roach there, because he was pretty aggressive on Regalado through that first corner. There was a bit of contact. He just shut the line off. Enestrosa, though, is on the inside now of Regalado as we come up the rise, and he's got the position back ahead of the Peruvian driver. Has a half look there at Roach, but no room at the inn for now as we come running down the hill. Nose to sail action. These are the hard compound runners, so the race is going to come to them a little bit later on. They're doing the worst stint that they have to do in this race early on. They're going to get that out of the way, and then the race will come to them when they've got those soft compound tyres. Will this be a strategy that works out? Well, the problem is, while they're battling amongst one another, they're costing themselves time. So it's costing them time later, effectively, in the race.
I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, we'd love to see a battle here, of course. It's the best part of watching any of his races, but for their actual races themselves, it does cost them time. And again, you're seeing the difference between the cars here. Enestrosa so fast in the middle, but then can do nothing to defend on the straight. Here comes Regalado, but I imagine Enestrosa is going to try and outbrake him down towards T1. Regalado does move ahead on the outside. Enestrosa holds him though there. Regalado has the inside line. Will there be any more contact as we saw last lap? No, Enestrosa does hold him there for now, but watch him. He'll be a sitting duck down the straight.
Yeah, that Subaru, as we know, not the fastest car in a straight line. Enestrosa knows that, goes for the defensive line then. Regalado in the Ferrari 458, powering his way to the outside. Is he powering his way up into 6th place? Well, Regalado isn't able to get ahead as Enestrosa defends the inside line, but he has a great run through the second part of that corner, and Enestrosa knows that. All the while, up in front, you've got Roach clearing off a second off into the distance. Side by side we go. Regalado on the outside, Enestrosa on the inside. Fantastic racing here between these two, and it is Enestrosa who manages to retain the position ahead of Regalado for now.
Yeah, but doing so, they're just hemorrhaging time to the cars around them at the moment. Again, great for Roach, as mentioned before. He gets a little bit of breathing. The gap now up to 1 second as Regalado again trying to find a way past the BRZ in the mid-sector. You're not going to find somewhere there for that car. Interestingly, up in the 3rd position, we've had a change of position. Guy Barbera taking the place away from Robbie Heck, and both of them have really fallen down away from Gallo and Fraga. 3 seconds now is the gap between 3rd and 2nd, so it looks like it's now turned into a 2-horse race at the front between 2 former Nations Cup champions. These 2 drivers are 2 of the fastest Gran Turismo drivers we have ever seen, and halfway through the race they're separated by 7/10 of a second, with seemingly Gallo, the chasing driver, a little bit quicker at this stage. Gallo also currently holding the fastest lap of the race, the only man to go underneath 1 minute 30, 1:29.8 the lap from Gallo that has him the fastest lap at the moment.
So Gallo there closing up onto the back. It's become a two-way scrap out in front in this race. Barbera, though, still with Heck breathing down the back of his neck at the moment as they come through the right-hander. Barbera's not going to do anything too rash in terms of his defensive lines through there at the moment, but these three running nose to tail. It's upset Sasaki's race. As we look here at Barbara, this is the move. Did Heck make a mistake going through the left-hander? It looks like he made a mistake the corner before us. He got himself all out of shape, ran it onto the curb there into the left, and that allowed Guy Barbara to go through, as he said, thanks very much, and got up and up onto the podium.
I think he's heated those rear tyres up a little bit, Tom. Now, we mentioned that a bit earlier on. He just seems like he's having real trouble getting the traction down in that Mazda. Let's watch him again through here. Let's see how he manages the exit this time. We get a nice view from Sasaki there, who actually I think is the biggest victim of all of these guys, choosing to box a couple laps later, and now he's stuck here. He's stuck about 4-5 seconds off the lead, where before he was fighting for it. Now right into the toe again, right into the slipstream, looking around. What's that Porsche like in a straight line? Not quite quick enough to pull alongside. Will we see a late dive? Both of them moving in the braking zone there. Sasaki looking up the inside. Will Heck defend? He's got by him there. Heck now has the inside line. Will he drive him to the curb? No, straight around the outside goes Sasaki. That was a confident move, Tom.
Love that from Takuma Sasaki, and he needs to do that because he can see his chances of victory slipping through his fingers. He wants to get onto the podium, wants to get those points back as well, does Takuma Sasaki. 4 points awarded for third place, 3 points awarded for fourth place, and that could be critical at the end of the season. Inestrosa off the hard tyres, finally for him, goes on to the soft compound of tyres. Where's he going to emerge? There's Dean Helt just to his right hand side in the Genesis. Helt, of course, on an alternative strategy, so will it give Inestrosa a little bit of clear air if he's able to get himself ahead of the Genesis driver? That will be the best case scenario for the Chilean.
I think honestly for Super and Inestrosa, this race could have gone a bit better for those guys so far. They've been caught up in a lot of battles. The pace hasn't been that good on the hard compound of tyres. It's going to really take a lot to catch these guys at the front. The pace at the front now is fantastic. A 30.2 last lap from Gallo, 30.4 last lap from Igor Fraga, faster than anyone else in the field at the moment. And I've got a feeling we're going to have a showdown here very soon between these two titans, Lexus and Honda. Fraga and Gallo, as we come on now to lap 17 of 30. We're in the tow on board with Valerio Gallo, who actually, interestingly, pulls out of the tow there. Now, why would he do that?
I wonder if he's just trying to keep his powder dry for now, just not wanting to show his cars too soon. Sure, he could go for a lunge on the inside, but he could also cost himself a lot more than he's set to gain there. Just saw a snap of oversteer mid-corner for the Honda driver, so he's certainly pushing on. He's not like he's driving well within his limits, but yeah, I just wonder if he's just waiting for the right opportunity to strike later in the race, maybe.
He lost a chunk of time there, about half a second there to Fraga through T1, so just shows you one mistake cost you quite a bit of time here.
Takuma Sasaki there needs a little bit of a booster cushion, doesn't he? You can barely see the steering wheel from that camera angle at the moment.
As a fellow short king, don't be calling him out like that, all right? Don't be calling him out.
To be
like
fair,
that.
I was waiting for you to make a reference like that. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it? Takuma Sasaki then right in the wheel tracks here of Guy Barbara over the rise. And the thing is, Sasaki will know that he has an opportunity of victory, and he doesn't want to let that slip through his fingers. Maybe a podium is the best opportunity, but he'll still be angrier than a mosquito in a mannequin factory if he's not able to maximise the potential for Porsche here this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's just being held up by Guy Barbara. Now, the question really remains, one, can he get by Guy Barbara? I think he can. I think he's got the pace. I think he's got the racecraft to make that move if he can get there. But then, can he then move on to the back of Gallo and Fraga? The gap between them now is a good 4 seconds between Sasaki and Igor Fraga, the leader. Now, interestingly, look at the tyres here. Gallo has really pushed on this stint. Those rear tyres looking pretty second-hand, and we did see him have a couple of slides. That is only going to get worse.
Sasaki then pulls to the inside here of Guy Barbara. Does he make the move this time around? Down the start-finish straight we go, into the centre edge. Decisive, clean and confident from Takuma Sasaki as he elevates himself now back up once again onto the podium here for TAG Heuer Porsche. Now, does Guy Barbara have anything left in his locker to try and retaliate? Out of turn 3, a flash of the lights to try and distract Sasaki in the mirror, but Sasaki's got trap position, he's got more grip underneath him, and he's got third place as we head down into the left-hander of turn 4 as well. So now, next target, close the gap down to the leaders.
Yeah, Sasaki now has got to use this pace he has. He cannot afford to fight with Guy Barbara at all. He's already lost a chunk of time. The gap is down to 3.2 seconds at the moment, so we're getting quicker, but still a little way to go.
0.3 of a second faster was Sasaki on that lap last time around than Gallo and Fraga as well. So that is just the sort of carrot that Sasaki needs dangled in front of him at the moment. It is not over for Porsche and for Takuma Sasaki. Up through into the right-hander we go, and you can see him visibly there. A lot of confidence and a lot of pace, and this is going to really come to him, I'm sure, in the latter stages of this one.
Like a cork in a bottle there. He's really turned up the wick. Already, through that middle sector, he was nearly half a second faster than Igor Fraga. So I don't think this race is over yet for Suzuki and Team Porsche. We've seen Gallo struggling on tyres. We've seen Fraga doesn't quite have the ultimate pace. So this is still far from over. Coming on to lap 19 there, Igor Fraga leading by only 0.3 of a second from this man, Valerio Gallo in Honda. Robbie Heck coming into the pits there fairly early for that second stop there for Team Mazda.
We saw him spinning up his rear tyres a few laps ago, didn't we? So if he's only into those tyres, he's used up the best of its life, then there's a good possibility that it's just high on tyre wear at this particular circuit, that Mazda. So maybe Robbie Heck's chance of a podium, maybe even a top 5 potentially off the cards, because Karatsa's closed right up. He's in 6th place now. He's chopped off that gap by about 5 seconds over the last 5 laps as well. So Karatsa on an absolute charge as things stand.
Now, bear in mind, if Suzuki in 3rd place and get onto the back of these guys for 1st and 2nd, he has effectively tyres that are a couple of laps younger than the rest of the field, meaning that he'll have to spend a little bit less time on that hard compound of tyre. So something to think about. But also at this point, these two here are just losing time, hand over fist to Suzuki behind them. The gap now down to 2.9 seconds. I think now Valerio Gallo is aware of it. He said, you know what, okay, I'm being caught by the car behind. I can no longer stay here and wait behind Igor Fraga, who is playing the game. He's a little bit slower there on to the last corner. He's trying to back up Gallo in the NSX, but these guys have been racing together for a very long time. They know each other's moves at this point. They know the strengths and weaknesses of the manufacturers they represent. Will we see a move then down in towards T1? They're both coming into the pits actually, so at this point they're going nose to tail into the pits, so it's going to be a straight fight to the end of the race, both onto the hard tyre.
Yeah, I imagine so. Let's see what happens as they come into the box then. Fraga in first, of course, just up the road from Gallo. They're going soft, so they're going to try and do 1 lap on the hard tyre. There's no minimum tyre time. They only have to do a minimum of 1 lap on it. So I wonder whether they're going to make a final stop in this race and try and run that hard tyre for as short as they possibly can. Either way, this is music to the ears of Takuma Sasaki, because it's released those 2 cars out in front. That means he's now in clear air with pace underneath him. He can just make hay whilst the sun shines, run his strategy and hope that this race comes to him in the latter stages, especially given how fast he's been.
I don't know if this is the right move for Gallo, going onto that hard compound of time. And this guy, he knows better than I do for sure at this point, but I just don't foresee that working. Bear in mind though, of course, because as you can see there, the history graph of our tyres being used, you have to use both compound tyres. So Suzuki, Barbara, Fraga as well, and Heck all need to make 1 more stop. At least Gallo, to his credit, doesn't have to stop again. So the question is, can Fraga open up a pit stop's worth of gap in 10 laps?
Well, time will tell. 10 laps left to run here in this grand final for the Manufacturers' Cup. Sasaki it is that leads then. Guy Barbara in 2nd. Then you've got Gallo just behind Igor Fraga. I say just behind. That gap has increased quite a fair bit actually over the course of this outlap, given the fact that they were pretty much nose to tail and you couldn't separate them as they came into the pit lane. It's a much sort of more prominent gap now between those two, as to be expected, because Gallo, of course, is on that hard compound tyre. Now, Guy Barbara comes into the pit lane, and at the end of lap 20, where's he going to go in terms of strategy? Is he going to go soft, or is he going to go for and put a hard on? Let's see as we come into the pit lane then. Hard tyres then for Guy Barbara as he exits out of the pits here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Now, where is he going to emerge in relation to the likes of Fraga and Gallo around him? There is Sasaki. He's away up the road, running nice clear air, nice clean lap times as well. 1:31.2. So those tyres now beginning to fall off a cliff as you can see them coming to the end of their useful shelf life. Barbara onto the hard tyres for what we're expecting to be his last stint in this race.
31.2 isn't terrible. It isn't great, but it isn't terrible. So there is still a little bit of life in that tyre there. But I just wonder how much longer he's going to go, because now it's the gap between himself and Fraga. They both need to use they both need to use a hard compound tyre. So this, I guess, is the gap unless Suzuki wants to pit again. So maybe Suzuki's played a masterclass here.
Well, let's wait and find out as we come down the back straight, or down the hill I should say rather, and then we get to run for the rise up to the timing line. Sasaki doing a good job, but I dare say he's probably going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. We saw him go a lap longer than his fellow competitors in the first stint of this race. And Sasaki, as he comes through, does not come into the pit lane at the end of lap 21, so he's just quite happy to carry on. 31.2 for him last time around. Comes the timeline 31.5, so about 0.3 of a second slower. Now those tyres are beginning to go off, but he's running okay so far.
I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times for those who have opted to go to that hard compounded tyre. We're going to get one from Gallo very soon, coming across the start finish line. He's on 32.4, which is a second, give or take, slower than Sasaki in first. So I really think going to that hard tyre early, wasn't it? I think it's the sort of typical game of the hard tyre is lava here, trying to avoid. Anyway, here's a replay between Heck and Gallo. I think this is Heck managing to... This is the difference between the tyres here. Look, so much more apex speed there. Heck goes up the inside of Gallo like it's just nothing, and Gallo down into fourth position. So those are the soft tyres right now. They do have to stop again, but Gallo is losing just a ton of time into that pit.
What were we expecting the pit stop loss time to be? About 11 seconds, something along the lines of that. What's Fraga got now? He's got about 6.5 seconds, I would say, there and thereabouts. He's probably got over Valerio Gallo at this stage. He needs to really build on that. How much clear air has he got? 7 seconds up the road in front, so he's doing all right as it stands now, is Igor Fraga. But as you say, Jimmy, he's got to run that final competitive time, and that's barring any mistakes. Not that we usually see them from Igor Fraga, but stranger things have happened. There's a lot of pressure in these events. You can see Sasaki's front tyres are going to be crying out for mercy at the sharp end of this race. Surely he's going to have to come into the pits at the end of lap 22.
It's one of these races again where it's a bit of a slow burn in the middle and all comes alive at the end, as I can see the gaps now starting to come down around the field. Here is Valerio Gallo. He'll be wondering whether he made that right choice going onto that hard compounded tyre. Only time will tell. Sasaki still out front. His lap time of 31.6. Igor Fraga's last lap time of 1:29.6. Easily the fastest lap of the race. Igor Fraga is charging right now in second place for Team Lexus, taking nearly 2 seconds out of Sasaki on that lap alone. So, but he needs to do this. He needs to bring this gap down as much as possible before they both go into that hard compounder tyre and it just turns into a straight fight. So Fraga's got the tyre life. Why not just go and burn it?
Well, he needs to extend the advantage over Valerio Gallo as well, because of course Fraga's going to be on the hard compounder tyre. Gallo will have been on that compounder tyre for quite a while, but he needs to make sure that Gallo doesn't leapfrog him when Fraga makes his final pit stop in this race. There is Sasaki. Surely, again, I've said that for the last 3 laps, he's going to come into the pit lane for this one, but he seems to be quite calm and confident. 1:31.6 for him last time around. So getting gradually slower is the Japanese driver, but nothing doing for him at the moment. What's it down to? 5.5 seconds. It was 7 seconds a couple of laps ago, the gap between Sasaki and Fraga. So I wonder, is this race beginning to fall away from the Japanese driver? Is it coming back into the favour of Igor Fraga in the Lexus? Into the pit lane finally then comes Takuma Sasaki. He had to do that. If he went on for another lap, he would have really cost himself a fair bit of time. So he's going to go on to the hard competitive tyre for the final stint in this race is Takuma Sasaki then, and let's see how this is going to play out for him in the Porsche. Fraga is going to go through into the lead, but of course don't forget he's got one more pit stop left to run. Hard tyres then do indeed go on for Sasaki. Out of the pit lane we go. Where is the Japanese driver going to emerge though? He's behind Fraga, but how far behind? That's the question, because Fraga needs another pit stop over him.
But as you come out ahead of Valerio Gallo, that'll be massive for Sasaki if he has, because then that is just again a fight to the end. Here is Sasaki. Where is Gallo? There he is then. Side by side, Gallo goes through up into third position. That is a disaster for Sasaki. So Valerio Gallo did barely enough there to hold that position, and now it's these two charging forward. These guys cannot afford to fight whatsoever if they want any chance of catching Fraga when he eventually boxes for that hard compounder tyre. Now him and both Robbie Heck in front, you can see they both are yet to take that soft compounder tyre, but Sasaki is not waiting around, almost pushing Gallo through that middle sector. I don't know, it's a hard one this. If you have the pace, you want to use the pace, but at the same time, if you're fighting like we saw earlier on, you just end up hemorrhaging time. And Gallo there you see struggling with the rear traction of the NSX as we come down now into a heavy braking zone. Left hand to him before we go up the hill. What sort of power does this Porsche have compared to the NSX sideways on exit?
Yeah, sideways there for Sasaki. That's going to cost him a tenth of a second or two. Gallo, of course, does not have the advantage of the slipstream like Sasaki has, and we know that Porsche is pretty handy in a straight line. This is absolutely critical for Takuma Sasaki if he wants to take the victory here tonight in the Manufacturers' Cup. He needs to dispose of Valerio Gallo pretty promptly. Down the start finish straight we go into the first corner. Backs off of the throttle. He's going to try and get a lunge and a run down into turn 4. Just wants to sit in the wheel tracks of the TAC Heuer Porsche at the moment. Of the Honda at the moment, I should say.
So here we go then. Go down towards T4 again. Look from the view of the rear spoiler of Gallo, that Porsche menacing in the mirrors for Valerio Gallo, but cool head on the Italian shoulders as we come now through to the middle sector once again. Time running out for Igor Fraga. So the gap now between the leaders and this second contingent of runners on the hard compounded tyre is now 11 seconds. I wonder if Fraga has done enough. We'll have to wait and see. I'd love to see the tyres on Fraga's car, how they're holding up right now, but these guys right now just separated by virtually nothing. Sasaki again pushing Gallo through that middle sector. I think Sasaki really has a better car in that part of the circuit.
Yeah, Sasaki's looking pretty handy, as you say, isn't he? The mechanical grip of that Porsche looking pretty good. Keep an eye out for Guy Barbara in the background as well. I wonder if he could try and bring himself into the picture in that AMG. AMG have not won a race since 2019, believe it or not. Long time ago. They've always been there and thereabouts, but they've been the bridesmaid but not the bride on several occasions. Now, Sasaki, once again, part 386 of this battle or whatever it is between himself and Valerio Gallo as we come across the timing line once more. We're clubbing into the closing few laps of this race, and Sasaki pulls to the outside as Gallo goes for the defensive line. Down the start finish straight we go into turn 1. Gallo holds firm in third place for now.
So yeah, great by Gallo there just to keep Sasaki behind for now, but again, it's just fighting, but we love to see that. We love to see these fights here in the Gran Turismo World Series. The best drivers in the world in the best machinery squabbling for that grand final trophy. Coming now down again for another lap and running out of time is Sasaki and Gallo. And I think maybe Sasaki is starting just to realise that if I stay here, I'm not going to have any sort of hope of catching Igor Fraga in front. Fraga, though, still out and still doing very competitive lap times, a 30.5 last time around from the Brazilian driver in the Lexus, and the tyres are holding on nicely for him, so I think it'll be a last lap dash for Fraga to bolt on that hard compounder tyre. I'm quite surprised you don't have a minimum time for that that hard tyre, Tom, honestly.
Well, the thing is, this is exactly the sort of race that Fraga absolutely loves. He loves leading from the front. He loves being able to control it, set the pace, and just run his own race, not getting involved in all the silly little squabbles that happen up and down the field. And that's exactly the sort of circumstances that have befallen Igor Fraga so far. At the moment, this is the battle for the podium between Gallo and Sasaki once again. Barbara's just dropping off the back of the rest of these drivers as we come down the start finish straight once more. Fraga's lap time now into the 1:30, so he's not quite as quick as he was earlier on, but he's still about half a second to the good of the likes of Gallo and Sasaki around him, even a bit more than that on occasion, as you can see there, up to 1.3, 1.4 seconds on some laps there. So Fraga looking pretty handy, but the tyres now beginning to come to the end of their life.
How about that for consistency? 130.35, 130.53, 130.57, so 400ths between lap times. That is the mark of a professional racing driver. Fraga, of course, the man that can do both, fast in sim, fast in real life. Again, coming back to this battle between Sasaki and Gallo, and I don't know. I think they've started to really cost themselves. The gap now between Gallo and Fraga up to nearly 14 seconds. I think Fraga's got the time to basically pit whenever he likes at this point, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that calculation is correct.
It's a bold strategy, isn't it, running on those hard tyres for as long as they have done, but I don't think, as you say, it's going to be one that's going to be working out particularly that well. I don't think Robbie Heck's podium is for sure as well. He's in second position at the moment, but he's 6.8 seconds up the road from these two drivers, so plenty of time for things left to change. If these two start knocking 7 bells out of one another, that might be music to the ears of the American, but for now, he sits in a net second place, but I imagine it's going to be off the podium once it's all been said and done. So, Gallo, we ride on board with. Sasaki, once again, closes up under braking. You've got a Honda versus a Porsche then. Mid-engine versus mid-engine. Down the start-finish straight we go once more. 3 laps left to run here at the Autodromo de Interlagos. Gallo, once again, defending from Sasaki. Sasaki pulling to the outside. Is he going to use the straight-line speed? He's going to make a move. Gallo moves over as we come back into the braking zone. Sasaki not going ahead and not moving up ahead of the Honda driver.
That's the closest he's been coming out of there. I don't know why he didn't go for the move there. I just feel at this point he's being held up and they can be quicker if Sasaki led the train. But the thing is, we're moving in now to the last couple of laps. They're not thinking about working together anymore. They're thinking about position. Igor Fraga out front, seemingly untouchable at the moment, but he's still yet to take his final pit stop. He's going to have to pit on the next lap. So we'll see if that is enough. The big thing to me is, has Robbie Heck done enough to stay ahead of Gallo and Sasaki for Team Mazda? That would be an amazing result for Team Mazda.
It'd be great. I don't think it's going to happen, personally. I'm sorry to not share your enjoying optimism there, Jimmy, but it's a long shot for Robbie Heck at the moment, I'll be honest. But stranger things have happened. We know how quickly the circumstances can change in the GT World Series. Here, though, is Igor Fraga. 8 seconds the advantage he's got over Robbie Heck. He's got a further 7 seconds over Valerio Gallo. We've got 2 laps left to run at the end of this one. When is the Brazilian going to come in to the pit lane? Will it be the end of this lap or will it be next time around? Next time around, I think. Yeah,
cool,
like that.
And collected there, Igor Fraga. Doesn't look like he's breaking a sweat. Just another day at the races for Fraga in Team Lexus. 8 seconds the gap between now him and Robbie Heck, and 15 seconds the gap between him and Valerio Gallo in P3. Let's run on board for a bit longer with Igor Fraga, seeing how a master practices his craft. We now go down through this second straight here. Important to get a good exit out of there, and they'll lay it on the brakes, break at the concrete on the right hand side, their little concrete path, and through the next vector. Now Gallo and Sasaki, what did you say it was, Tom?
Yeah, it's about 4024 now.
Still going.
Yeah. I know they've got magnets onto one another. They've been so close to each other for this number of laps. Great racing between the two, great respect. But, yeah, frustrating for Takuma Sasaki, I am sure, because Gallo doing a good job in that Honda to hold on to third place. He was buoyant, full of confidence coming into this weekend, was Gallo. He said that he reckons the Honda has got the pace finally to fight at the front, and a podium in their first event of the season, at the GT World Series events at least, will be a very welcome result for Valerio Gallo if he can pull it off. But at the moment, he's still got Sasaki breathing down his neck. Now is the time we're going to see Igor Fraga coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. He's got to come in and run at least 1 lap on the hard compound of tyre, and I'm fairly sure he's done enough to hold on to his race lead. Such is the pace of this final stint, or second but final stint, I should say, in this race.
So here comes Igor Fraga, our leader, into the pit lane. Now, onto that hard compound tyre he will go. Has he done enough to retain the lead of this race? So a hard set of the Michelin slick tyres are being bolted on now to the Lexus. Keep an eye, Robbie Heck having to come in as well to take the hard tyre for himself. Watch the gap, watch the mini-map as well. It looks like Igor Fraga has done absolutely plenty. Here comes Gallo and Sasaki. They are nowhere near Igor Fraga, who's done a magnificent job on his stint there to stay ahead of these two. But now it's going to be a fist fight between Gallo and Sasaki for second place. There is Igor Fraga getting up to speed now, but not quite close enough. So last lap then for Igor Fraga. Gallo and Sasaki behind the gap, 2.4 seconds, a bit less than I thought it was, to be honest. And Robbie Heck, unfortunately, not able to stay out ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yeah, not working at all out there for Robbie Heck, but now it is do or die time here for Takuma Sasaki in the Porsche. He has got to make this move stick on Valerio Gallo, but is he close enough? Gallo, we know he's a master of defensive driving, and he's doing enough at the moment. Sasaki has a look to the inside, into the right-hander, but the door is very firmly shut by Valerio Gallo. Half a lap left to run here in the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final at Montreal. Igor Fraga, here comes Sasaki for the move on the inside against Valerio Gallo. It's a late lunge, and Gallo sweeps it back up and holds firm for second place. One more opportunity left for Sasaki under braking. Gallo's on the inside line, he's got track position. It'll be a drag to the line between these two. It's all about the exit out of this corner, but what a superlative drive it is from Igor Fraga and his home circuit at Interlagos. He comes to the timing line to win the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final in World Series 1 for Lexus. It's a run to the line for second, and Gallo gets it by just a few hundredths of a second from Takuma Sasaki. Absolutely fantastic racing here in Montreal.
That was a masterclass from Igor Fraga and Team Nexus. And as you said, Tom, he just knows how to win the race from the front. Took it easy, took it in his own pace through that first stint there. And when he had to get the hammer down, he went. Fastest lap for Fraga, pole position, the win as well. Clean sweep for Fraga and Team Nexus. And Sasaki there, I think, maybe ruining a couple of mistakes. I think that could have quite easily gone to Porsche that race as well, if the strategy had been different. Great to see Gallo going over there as well and congratulating Fraga on the victory. Again, I don't understand why we saw the hard tyres so early from Gallo, but it came close at the end. But amazing race from this man. You can't take anything away. That is how you do it here at Gran Turismo.
Superb job from Igor Fraga then to take his first win in the Gran Turismo. "35 laps of action to come here tonight for the grand final of the Nations Cup. 12 drivers on the grid, but only one winner for World Series 1 here in Montreal. And here is how the field will be set. It is Kylian Drumont, the Frenchman, who starts on pole position, a fan favourite here tonight. Takuma Miyazono will line up alongside him on that front row of the grid. His compatriot Takuma Sasaki heads row 2. Alongside him is Koke Lopez, the former champion. Next up, you've got Kai de Bruyne, the Dutchman. Can he do well in the X 2019? Well, he'll have Killen Roach hot on his heels. Next up, you've got Valerio Gallo, another former champion, 7th on the grid for him. Guy Barbara, the Australian, lines up in 8th position. On the fringes of the top 10, Adriano Carrazza, 9th place, on the work for him to do. And likewise, Jose Serrano didn't go his way in the sprint race. He lines up right down the back of the field, as well as Angel Enestrosa in 11th place, with Robbie Heck, the American driver, completing our 12-driver strong field. So 3 tyre compounds available, 35 laps of action. Kylian Drumont on the soft tyres there, JB. He wants to go and get as much of a gap as he can possible early on.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar with the tyre strategies in these World Series events, the soft tyre is a statement of intent. It's saying, I'm going to go fast very quickly at the start of this race. Do not get in my way. And interestingly, only, as you said, Kylian Drumont opting for that, with Miyazono, Sasaki, Lopez and de Bruyne from 2nd to 5th, all opting for that slower medium compounder tyre. Callum Roach, also interesting, in that hard in P6, so we'll see how that pans out for him.
Well, a very fast-paced race is what we're expecting. 35 laps of action in qualifying. They were doing sub-1-minute laps. I wonder what it would look like under rated conditions, and I am wondering who will be claiming 6 points and the checkered flag in those 35 laps time. It's Kylian Drumont, the man who won the sprint race a few moments ago, who starts on pole position, but will he be taking the checkered flag here at Road Atlanta? It's World Series 1 for the Nations Cup. The grand final begins
Now, as Kylian Drummond leads the field down to the first corner, followed by Miyazono, and look at Lopez already dragging alongside Takuma Sasaki and taking third place down into the first corner. So Lopez with a bold statement of intent, moving up a position already as he sets his sights firmly on Takuma Miyazono for second.
Yeah, Sasaki definitely caught napping there as Gallo does the same to Callum Roach behind, goes up into P6, but Lopez already up into P3. That's important to do that early. If you think you have the pace, try and get out front early and try and get those lap times in, make the best of a tyre on. Drummond, Miyazono, Lopez, Sasaki are your order as we go onto the back straight for the first time. Here, I would say, is the first real overtaking opportunity, but Karatsa down in P7 has already made up 2 places from his qualifying position in 9th. He likes a comeback, does Karatsa, so we'll see how he does as the race goes on. Coming down the bottom of the lap for the first time, heavy braking downhill here, be careful of that, and then very tricky right-hander, try and be careful the throttle over the crest, and that is 1 lap done here at Road Atlanta. The pace is frantic already.
Yeah, you can see just how fast they're moving around this circuit. You can see how much it funnels down and goes 1 at a time through that chicane as well. You've got an opportunity to go 2 by 2 down that back straight. Look at this, hard tyre runners, Roach, Barbara, Inestrosa, Heck, all into the pits at the end of this first lap. The hard tyre's lava, they want to get off it and onto the softs.
Yeah, so people coming in for that tyre, you're wondering why they're doing only 1 lap on this hard compounded tyre. Well, the regulations say you have to use 1 tyre at least once. It doesn't say each tyre is once, and it doesn't say how long you have to be on the tyre. So if the hard compounded tyre is a second lap slower, you know what? In the bin.
Penalties coming in for Takuma Miyazono. Valerio Gallo at the start of the second lap. Is that track limits? It must be. Yeah, half a second there for Miyazono. That's going to drop him into the clutches, and if not, allow Koke Lopez to get past here. He's coming into the penalty zone, is Takuma Miyazono. And what about Lopez? He's going to go cascading on through and says thanks very much and goes into second place then. So the Spaniard having a quite brilliant start to this race, and now he's got his sights firmly set on Kylian Drummond.
Yeah, Koke Lopez is comfortably the most experienced man here out of anyone in the field. This guy's he's done 63 races he's done at these live events. He knows how to win races. He knows how to win championships. So, yeah, definitely any move to be made, he'll make it. On board with Sasaki. What a great camera view. This gives you a real sense of speed of this thing. I drove this thing around here yesterday, and I got to tell you, it is very difficult to keep up with this thing. It's incredibly quick for this S section.
You can see that you can't go 2 by 2. It's 1 at a time through that section of the lap. Then it begins to open out a little bit, but there's not that many heavy braking zones on this circuit. You go down into 4th gear for this right-hander. It's the chicane, really, where the best overtaking opportunity is on this track. And you can see now, it's the age-old story. Miyazono versus Sasaki. They were knocking 7 bells out of each other in the sprint race here earlier on tonight, and now they're close to one another, nose to tail on track. But Miyazono darts out of the slipstream here of Koke Lopez as we come down the back straight. Miyazono's got the inside line. He's got track position, but does he have the overspeed on Lopez to get second place back? He does. So Miyazono firmly asserting his dominance over the Spaniards.
The draft is so strong in these cars, and you might notice, look out front, look who's managed to break that draft already on that soft tyre. Kylian Drummond. So watch out for Kylian. He needs to put in some very quick laps now, but we'll check in with him later. Meanwhile, on board still with Takuma Sasaki. This time it's Koke Lopez he's looking at the back of, and not his countryman Takuma Miyazono. We go back down the hill here. What an awesome circuit, Road Atlanta. It's one of the best circuits in the US, in my opinion, and probably in the world, actually, if we're going to talk about that. But such a challenge for these guys and these drivers. Now look at the back of Sasaki. Look who's managed to catch him back up. It's Kai de Bruin. Out of nowhere comes the Dutch driver. Looks up the inside here. Inside onto the straight, and Kai de Bruin up into 4th place there, just biding his time, made the pass, but now he's going to be giving that draft to Sasaki behind him.
Yeah, lunging onto the scene and lunging to the inside of Takuma Sasaki was Kai de Bruin then, and Sasaki's trying to repay the favour as we come down this back straight. Bit of a tap of the lights there for de Bruin as we head down into there, but you can see him feathering the throttle here, Takuma Sasaki. He doesn't want to go past. He wants to use the slipstream to his advantage. I wonder, because we're expecting this to be a bit of a fuel consumption race as well, if he's just trying to save a little bit of fuel in these early stages as well.
Yeah, Stewart seeming thinking something to investigate there between the two drivers. I don't think so. It's just hard racing from there, but going back up the hill here, and already the gap between de Bruin and Lopez, you see this going on. Here's a replay actually of Abitano and Karatsa. So Serrano gets past Karatsa, just getting a little moment off that curb that I saw him in qualifying make that same mistake there, because it's very tricky to put down 800 horsepower with no traction control at that corner.
Yeah, especially with the aerodynamics are not working at their optimum, because of course you're not going that quick coming out of that particular turn on the track. Very aero dependent and very aero efficient cars, these machines. You can see Lopez there now down in 3rd place, 7/10 of a second. He's sort of dropping off the back of Miyazono at this point. Sasaki's down into 5th position then at this point. De Bruyn's up into 4th place. So down this back straight we go, and Sasaki with now more work to do than he was anticipating at this stage, especially given where the Japanese driver started. But De Bruyne is on an absolute flyer here. He's right onto the back of Koke Lopez. They're both on the same combat of tyre. It's not like De Bruyne's got an advantage with tyre combat. He's got a phenomenal amount of pace. He's got the inside line. Can he lunge into T1? That was audacious from Kai De Bruyne as he goes up into third place.
Those sort of moves are just 100% commitment. Kai had already decided before he'd even got past Lopez that I'm going for this move. And if he turns in, he turns in. But Kai needs to do that. He's got pace right now. He cannot afford to have that pace hindered by the cars in front of him. The Koke Lopez, very quick driver, but I wouldn't say in these cars he's the quickest in the field.
Just to give you an idea of the difference in terms of pace between De Bruyne and Lopez. Lopez last time around a 1 minute flat 7.94. Kai De Bruyne a 1 minute flat 1.62. 0.6 of a second faster. In these cars around this lap, that's a fortnight's worth of pace.
And that is the fastest lap of the race, even faster than Dumont on the soft compounder tyre.
Well, it's not over yet, is it? This one with Kai De Bruyne. Kai De Bruyne and Sasaki under investigation. So I wonder whether that's what caused Sasaki to go down the order. Let's have a look and see what happens later on as this continues on.
That was no further action, Tom.
Right, sorry, I beg your pardon.
So no further action there, so the steward's sinking. Yep, that's fine. And we go back to this amazing battle. 290 kilometres an hour for the apex of T1 there. I cannot imagine the size of these virtual drivers and their necks are through there. They've been massive. But what happened there? Sasaki just through, I think Lopez got on the curb a little bit there?
Yeah, quite possibly, unless they said no further action, unless there was a bit of contact that we didn't see and Lopez has just been the gentlemanly thing of letting off. I don't think that would be the case, but again, we didn't see exactly what happened. Anyway, it now sits with Sasaki in fourth place, Lopez in fifth position, De Bruyne up the road in third place.
Interestingly, Tom, sorry, I'm just looking at the timings. Miyazono was quicker than Dumont that lap. And there's no slipstream, that is just pace. So maybe those soft tyres are starting to go the other way. Maybe the medium tyres are tired to be on around here.
Well, we're expecting the tyre distance to be about 7 laps or so, weren't we? We were expecting the mediums to be the favoured bit of rubber underneath these drivers. And Valerio Gallo there sitting in sixth place at the moment, not having too bad of a run, got a good view of the battles unfolding in front of him, but he's not quite in contention for the podium places at this stage at the moment. This is what we are used to seeing in these longer formats of races. It starts off quite frantic, it gets a little bit quiet in the middle stages of the race, and then it really picks up towards the end as all the strategies begin to unfold in front of us.
Man, using all that curb there and a bit more and some of the grass on the entry and the way in there. You know what, if it works, it works. And if the stewards don't say it's within track limits, then it's all free real estate. So following Valerio Gallo as he closes onto the back of Koke Lopez. Lopez had a great start there, managed to get up to third place initially, but since then maybe lost a little bit of the pace and is starting to fall back down the field again. Dumont managing to lap a bit quicker that time around than Miyazono, but they're just trading lap times, so it's interesting to see that soft tyre not quite performing at this stage of the stint.
No, just see Kylian Dumont there, 2.3 seconds the advantage he has on that soft combat of tyres. Is he going to be coming in within a lap or so? Goes round this time, carrying on with those tyres, 1 minute flat 7.03. He was half a second slower than Miyazono last time around.
So maybe it's...
Let's have a listen here to Lopez. Well, fascinating to hear there from Koke Lopez. Really good to get a bit of backstory about the driver, the former Nations Cup champion, as he sits in fifth position. Right behind him, though, is another former champion, Valerio Gallo. Look at the tyres on the rear of Kylian Dumont, down to 23%. They're going to be feeling pretty second-hand at this stage, and they're going to be going down at a vast rate of knots. He carries on in the lead of the race for another run round, does the Frenchman at the moment.
He's got a box. He's got a box soon. He's doing 108s right now. So, sorry, 1 minute 8.8. Get that right. But that's still 6/10 slower a lap. I mean, look at the gap in the front. 1.6 seconds now between Miyazono and Dumont. I think if he stays out on this soft tyre any longer, he's going to risk ruining his strategy here, because Miyazono is just able to keep that pace on a tyre that is worse than Dumont. There you go. You see the gap there coming down a second in 2 laps. Dumont needs to respond to this.
So Drumont then through that right-hander. This is where he's going to be really feeling the pain of the poor traction of those very worn soft tyres on the exit of that corner. Kylian Drumont just going to not be feeling good at all. Look at that rear left, down to 12%. The rear right is absolutely fine. Illustroza going into the pit lane then, so he's gone from the medium tyres. Where's he going to emerge and on what tyre as well? I know he's a bit of a way down the order and out of sequence, but I'm just keen to see what his strategy is. He goes for the soft tyre then in the middle stint. Drumont has to come in, otherwise he's going to end up sending it into the barrier, I am sure. Miyazono carries on the medium compounds. Now, where will Drumont go in the middle stint?
Then we saw that he had a really bad pit entry there. He I think just got out of shape going into the pit lane. So those rear tyres there just burnt. He goes on to another set of the soft tyres. So that's at least a free stop then, it's going to be from Kylian Drumont. And I think that's going to be the fastest way around here, Tom.
Yeah. I think that you're absolutely right. Go for the hard tyre as late as you possibly can. Try and get those, like we saw with Igor Fraga actually in the Manufacturers' Cup earlier on tonight. Just try and do a one-lap dash on those and have as little time on it as you possibly can. See De Bruyne and Sasaki all over each other like a cheap suit at the moment as they try to find their way past one another and navigate around this fantastic Road Atlanta circuit over the crest of the hill. Sasaki there looking for an inside line. He's in the slipstream there, pulls out of it from Kai De Bruyne, so doesn't want to get himself ahead of the Dutchman at the moment, but just wants to stay in his wheel tracks. Through that left and then the right-hander we go, up over the crest of the hill. These medium tyres still holding on pretty nicely as it stands. The lap time's a little bit slower than we saw earlier on, but nonetheless, still pretty good.
They're still lapping quicker than Drumont was when he boxed. So Miyazono, though, the pace very, very strong at the front of the field for Takuma Miyazono. Comfortably the quickest man in the first 5 cars. Serrano, actually, the quickest man on track on that last lap, down in 6th place, but not quite making his way to the front of the field just yet. So we're with Valerio Gallo right in the wheel tracks and bumping Koke Lopez. Now, he just got a warning for that, and I just saw him do it again there right on camera. So I'm not sure what the stewards are going to say about that. I don't think it was... It's a tricky one because you don't want to lose momentum, and you can do that by giving the guy in front a little bit of a tap. But if you do that, you might also risk damaging the cars.
Look at that in front as well. You've got De Bruyne versus Sasaki. He keeps doing it here, does Valerio Gallo, and the stewards will be coming down in like a ton of bricks. Lopez decides to get out of it. He lifts off the throttle down this back straight, says thanks very much, and lets Gallo back through. He wants absolutely no part of what's going on at the moment, does Koke Lopez, and I wonder whether Gallo may be under investigation once more and possibly being set for a penalty here, because the stewards have seen now another 3 instances of that over the course of that last lap.
Yeah, you can get away with it once or twice, but after that, maybe not. But we'll see. I mean, I hope we don't get a penalty because I want to see the race start on circuit, but that's just how things are. There are rules for a reason. Still on board with the Italian Valerio Gallo. Pace is good for him on this mid-stint. 1 minute, 0.2 last lap, so very, very quick at the moment. He's got the bit between his teeth and now looking to try and close in on Sasaki and Kai De Bruyne, who I think his effort has, I say it's not fallen off. He's done a 1 minute, 0.4 last lap. Interestingly, a mistake, I think, from Miyazono last lap. A 101.1, which is about half a second slower than he has been doing over the course of this race. Sasaki looking to the inside of Kai De Bruyne, up the inside goes the Japanese driver up into P2. Now, can he catch his fellow countryman?
Beautiful block pass there from Sasaki as he came through the chicane. He's coming around that right hand, a tighter line though, and De Bruyne's not going to take this line down. Is he going to try and do exactly what he did last time on Lopez? He goes for the move on the inside and goes through back into second. Kai De Bruyne, fantastic bit of commitment he's got through that first corner, and that's left Sasaki under threat here from Valerio Gallo. Look at him pushing the rear of the Japanese driver's car. You've got to be so careful, especially through these high-speed corners. Any wheel-to-wheel contact, and it's straight off to the single crash. Lopez there going through on Gallo, and you can see Roach there as well. He's out of position down in 11th place. So what's happened there to Callum Roach? Because he's sat in 11th place. He's already a lap down. Something's gone wrong there for the American.
He's made 2 stops at this point, and it is a very short lap, but I'm not quite sure what happened. I think Lopez isn't the sort to run into the back of someone. Maybe Roach just got a bit out of position there. Roach now trying to unlap himself from Koke Lopez. We don't really get many instances of cars being lapped around here. Driving up the inside, and now...
The thing is, this is going to cost Lopez time. Callum Roach, he's well entitled to do that. You can unlap yourself, but Lopez is going to be, well, madder than a polar bear in the Canaries after this one, because it's ruining his race at this stance. And look at the gap now that's been presented between himself and Sasaki. It's up to half a second. Now he's got all of that hard work to do again with a fast and furious American behind him.
The stewards are going to be busy on this one, I think. But yeah, what an interesting scenario, because we've never had a lap that's been this quick in these cars, and if you box twice earlier, which is what Callum Roach has done to try and have a fast run later on, then you can end up being a lap down. But honestly, at this point, I don't know what the rules are.
Right, let's see what the stewards do.
Another bit of contact.
Yeah, the thing is, it's too forceful, isn't it? If you're able to unlap yourself, fair enough, but you can't go and crash into the other side of the side of the other driver. And you see, it picks up a warning there for colliding with another car. And I wonder whether it's going to be long before we see the stewards coming down on this like a ton of bricks. Look at this now. Gallo's trying to take advantage, trying to get his move done on the inside of Roach. Oh, this is getting very scrappy indeed. Lopez getting hung out to dry here. More hip and shoulder, more contact, and Serrano is coming through on his countryman as well, and does so for 4th place. So Serrano, in all of that drama, now moves on to the back of Takuma Sasaki for 3rd.
All this does is benefit Miyazono and Kai De Bruyne, who are just outside of this battle. But yeah, I don't really know. It seems that it's just desperation from Callum Roach, because he's a lap down. He knows he's got pace in the tyres, but he can't do anything with it because he's stuck in this train. So I mean, Miyazono there, a track limit penalty for our leader, so that's going to help Kai De Bruyne. A 2nd, that's a massive penalty. This might allow Kai to have a run coming down to the bottom, so he'll cross the line, serves the 1 second penalty. Look in the mirrors there, look in the rear view mirror, that is Kai De Bruyne right behind us, closing up at a rate of knots. Won't quite be close enough for a move, but just like that, a 2.2 second gap is down to 4 tenths, and then a mistake there from Kai straight away. I think he got a bit too excited, a bit too quickly there.
Bit of target fixation. Miyazono decides to just sack off that lap, comes into the pit lane then on the medium tyres, and decides to get a new set of boots on. That leaves De Bruyne out in front to lead a Gran Turismo World Series race for the first time in 2024, as Miyazono goes then onto the soft compound of tyre. Karatza also in as well from the mediums. Where's he going to go? Where's Drumont? There is our earlier race leader. Thankfully for him, he's kept out of all of the drama that unfolded in front of him, where we saw Roach getting involved in the action.
Where's Miyazono? So Drumont comes round now on the exit and comes out ahead of Miyazono. That's very important for Kylian Drumont. So good pace there for Drumont on that 2nd stint. And there is Miyazono. That's a big gap there between Drumont and Miyazono. 7 seconds Drumont has pulled on that stint, just on that soft compound of tyre. So it's looking like it's going the way of the Frenchman at the moment, but he does still owe some more tyres. So let's see a replay of what happened here.
Gallo versus Lopez up over the rise. That's the moment there for Gallo. Whoa! Okay. Thankfully, no cars following him and collecting him in that, but that could have been a bit more messy. Kai De Bruyne, former race leader, now into the pits, off of the medium tyres. Where's he going to go in his strategy? Most people have gone soft in the middle stint. And indeed, he does have a soft on then. So Kai De Bruyne goes into the pits and will emerge where? That's the question, because he's had good pace actually in this middle stint of the race. He's looked pretty good so far as the Dutchman. Look at the rest of the field though. They're all involved in traffic. You've got, oh, hang on a minute, Callum Roach right in front of Takuma Sasaki. Right behind them, you've got Serrano and Lopez. You've got Guy Barbara lunging to the inside as well of Serrano. Thing is, I get it, they're involved in their own battle further down the order. They're entitled to be involved in their own race, but you can't go and compromise somebody else's.
I can tell you right now, there's going to be some words after this race between the drivers, I think, because it's just one of these difficult situations where if you are in the lead, I mean, we do operate the sort of the blue flag rule here, and you are entitled to overtake if you're quicker, but it's to the point where they're interfering so much that it's changing the outcome of the race. Sasaki at the moment, so this is interesting. Sasaki, I think, is still stuck behind Callum Roach, or was last time we checked anyway, and this all goes in favour of Miyazono and Drumont, who are not currently sort of stuck in this train.
So then, over the rise we go. There is Jose Serrano. Takuma Sasaki, your race leader as it stands for the time being. Drumont there in 4th place. He's got 5.5 seconds of a gap now over Takuma Miyazono. And he's looking quite nice here for Drumont. Of course, he's got slightly older, softer compound of tyre, but that should be okay for him. Don't forget, they have to run every compound of tyre in this race. They must run the hards, the mediums, and the softs. There is Jose Serrano, sitting in the wheel tracks of Takuma Sasaki. I suppose the one advantage here for Sasaki is he's not having to punch the hole in the air in front of him. He's getting a bit of a slipstream here, which might be a bit helpful.
Let's check his lap time. If he stays out, will he stay out for one more lap? He does. Lap time, his last time around was a 101.4 on the slow end. This lap, a 1:01 minute point 7, so an okay lap time for mediums at that part of the stint. Oh, and Sasaki almost wanted that curb on the outside. Every time I see that, I cringe a bit. I think how many times I've gone through there, touched that curb and gone wild, and we're just showing you how difficult it is to thread the needle of these cars through here. Inestrosa and Robbie Heck behind now, the second place Serrano trying to find their way through on their strategies, of course, but a lap down. So what does Serrano do in this situation? You don't want to let him by if you lose time, but you don't want to risk being lunged for one of these guys like that. And then Ango Inestrosa, I think, either having contact with Serrano or being punted himself in the background. It's carnage. These cars are very fast around this circuit. And there's Coque Lopez now trying to find his way through. Do these guys get blue flagged or what? What's the rule here?
Yeah, well, it's under investigation. Oh, so no further action, I should say, there between Gallo and Lopez for that collision that we saw a little bit earlier on. Oh, this is just... You can feel the heart sinking for Coque Lopez here, because he's right behind these two drivers who are squabbling, quite rightly, for their own positions at the moment, and it's just costing him time. Serrano comes into the pit lane then at the end of the 21st lap. Lopez does. Well, he had no choice, though, did he, really? Whether that forced his hand.
I wonder if Drumont and Miyazono sort of foresaw this and was like, okay, you know what, we're going to box and not get involved in any of this. Interesting, that gap between Drumont and Miyazono. It was about 6 seconds when Drumont, who has just actually come back into the pit lane, so he's come off that soft compounded tyre. I think he realised that the tyre doesn't last quite as long as he wanted. Now, will we see the medium compounded tyre come on here? We do see that medium compounded tyre. Now, will we take that for 13 laps? I think it will last that long quite comfortably, then go on to the hard tyre for the last stint.
Yeah. So, no further action there with Inestrosa versus Robbie Heck for their collision. Out on track, the stewards decided that all's fair in love and war as it stands. So, Sasaki, the only driver who hasn't made a pit stop in this race, just to remind you, he's managed to run those medium tyres, I should say, 21 laps from the start of this race, which is mightily impressive, but I bet you they're going to be feeling pretty clapped out now, and he'll come into the pits, and indeed he does. That is going to release Takuma Miyazono to the lead of this race. Now, where does Sasaki go in terms of his strategy? He's been on the mediums. Does he go for the soft in the middle stint and try and run the hards right at the very end, or does he do a middle stint on the hards? He does do a middle stint on the hards. Now, how long is he going to run this for? You'd imagine one lap, one and done, then stick the softs on for the end of the race.
We have had 2 drivers on this stint, 3 drivers finally dip below the 1 minute mark. Kylian Drumont, fastest lap from him on the soft tyre in that last stint was a 59.5, so getting quite close to qualifying pace there. These guys really on it right now, and these moments of clear air for Miyazono, for Kylian Drumont, this is where the race is going to be won or lost. So right now, if we look at all the gaps, Drumont's in clean air, Miyazono is out front, there's no one in front of him now. He can just drive into that on that soft compounder tyre, and we know his pace is good. He's going to want sub 1 minute laps every lap now. Qualifying pace is needed for Miyazono if he wants to win this race.
So, on board here we are with Coque Lopez. Up front there is Takuma Sasaki through that right-hander. There you go. You've got Kai de Bruyn not too far up the road there as well. And just in front of them, I think that's a bit of black traffic once again in this race, isn't it?
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, is that Jose Serrano? It's difficult to tell from this angle as we come down this back straight. You see Lopez there closing up onto the back and lunges his way to the inside for 4th place. Decisive there then for Lopez. Obviously he's on the soft compound tyre compared to Sasaki's hard, but that just goes to show you how much more grip he's got under braking.
Yeah, I mean, that was just easy move for Coque Lopez. Up into P4 now. This is Coque Lopez's favourite place. He loves the P4, does Coque Lopez. He's always sort of hovering around here. Good last lap from him, 59.7. So the pace is there for the Spaniard in the X 2019. Is it enough to catch his fellow countryman? Callum Roach, though, is between them at the moment, so that might help him slingshot up to him as it is. So here are the current tyre stats so far. Miyazono has taken the medium and the soft, as have the other top 4 runners. A reminder, you do have to use every compound of tyre. Only person, or the people who've done that so far, are the bottom 4, which is maybe the reason we've seen them being lapped at the moment.
So, lap 23 out of 35. Miyazono still leading this race. He's on the soft compound tyre as it stands. He's setting very fast lap times. Another 59.9. He's the only driver, aside from Coque Lopez, who was in the 59s last time around. But here is the man who is trying to challenge him for that victory. He's kept himself out of trouble, out of harm's way. Crucially, out of all that lap traffic drama that we saw early on as well. It's Kylian Drumont, the man who started this one on pole position, and that is going to be music to the ears of him. Look at that clear air in front of him. It's very hard to come by here at this Road Atlanta circuit, but at the moment he's lapping it up and doing a superb job. Probably the only thing I can foresee for him is that he's got Valerio Gallo on the soft compound tyre behind. both, though, roughly about the same sort of time. The fact is, Drumont last time around was a 59.8, and that is exactly the same time that Gallo was setting on the soft compound of tyre.
Yeah, so I mean, you can just see the pace of these guys right now. This is basically the hot lapping part of the race. Everyone's finding a little bit of space. Everyone knows the car right now. Everyone knows what they're capable of, and they just need to be putting in these quick laps. It's to take an analogy from F1, it's Schumacher Hungary from whatever year that was, 98. You know, it's that. You have to just get your head down and just perform, get those results. And these guys, they're the best drivers in the world in Gran Turismo. So many of them now dipping under 1 minute for a whole lap of Road Atlanta. The pace here is unreal.
10 laps to go then here at Road Atlanta for the grand final of the Nations Cup. Kai de Bruyne, we ride on board with him. Is he bob on for a podium? Let's find out a little bit more about the man behind the mask. No, we won't. We'll do that a little bit later on, because you can see Kai de Bruyne sitting there in second place. There is Takuma Miyazono, 3.8 seconds, 3.6 seconds now up the road. Looking pretty interesting, this one.
Kai de Bruyne's catching.
He is.
He is catching. Now, this would be amazing for the Dutch driver. One of the youngest drivers here is Kai de Bruyne, but you wouldn't know that from his driving. Very mature driving style, very fast as well. And I think at the moment he has the pace capable of catching one of the best GT drivers in the world, Takuma Miyazono. Here is Adriano Corazza, again driving from a poor grid position, P9. He started up in P6 now, so decent comeback so far, but I just don't think he has the pace to really challenge that top 5 at the moment.
Warning triangles for some of the drivers on their rear tyres, Robbie Heck and Guy Barbara. That means that their tyres are absolutely cooked. They've got to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Sasaki comes into the box then, off of the hard tyres on this middle stint in the race. He goes for the softs right to the very end of this one then. So Sasaki's done all 3 tyre compounds. Now he can run to the checkered flag. What about the likes of Takuma Miyazono, Kai de Bruyne, and in fact all the drivers in front of Sasaki and Drumont, actually, for that matter, as Drumont comes into the pits for his final stint in this race. Where's he going to go? Medium tyres then for him. Just comes in for a bit of fuel. By the looks of things, he's quite happy with those medium tyres. He's deciding not to change them with 9 laps to go.
Got me just an update on some of the rules questions we asked a bit earlier on. And it's basically, if you get a blue flag, you have to get out of the way. We don't have that information, whether they're being shown blue flags or not, but you are allowed to retake or re-unlap yourself if you have the pace to do so.
So then, here is Drumont coming down through, just sitting all on his own at the moment. Where is he in terms of his lap times? Last time around, of course, he was a little bit slower, 1:06.4, because he came into the pit. Oh, he's in the wall! Kylian Drumont's thrown it away! I don't believe it! The Frenchman coming out of the pit lane, made a pit stop for more fuel, stayed on the medium compound of tyres, and he sends it into the barrier on his outlap.
That has handed this race to Takuma Miyazono on a platter, on a massive collective sigh here at the venue in Montreal. Sad to see it end that way. Here's a replay of what happened. So we're on board with Drumont, comes onto the curb there, turns in, just gets on the curb a bit too much. You just can't save it at that point. The car goes off, and Drumont will be absolutely kicking himself down there. What a way for that to end.
Such a shame for Kylian Drumont. Now, look at this. Battle for second between De Bruyne and Serrano then. Down the start-finish straight we go. Serrano's going to send it on the inside. Oh, fantastic from Jose Serrano as he takes the lead at the start of lap 28 to the delight of the crowd. Miyazono into the pits then, onto the hard compound of tyres on lap 28. Surely he's going to want to run this for as short as he possibly can. But, I mean, you're looking a bit confused with that one, JB.
Yeah, it's an odd place to take the hard tyre. I mean, you can run soft to the end here, you can run mediums to the end here. To take the hard tyre, it just feels like there's a bit of a miscalculation there from Miyazono. So what I would like to see is that lovely little tyre graphic we have showing what has been run by each driver so far, so we can better understand what's going on. Here we are then. So Miyazono, yeah, he's going to go on that hard tyre. He doesn't have to stop again. I mean, you could come in again for another soft tyre, but it doesn't seem right to me. Serrano, who's currently out front, also has to box for that hard compounder tyre. But on this pace he's on, if he can eat this out right to the end and fit for the hard tyre right at the end of the race, he has a chance of winning this.
Well, every other driver in front has to run the hard compound of tyre. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Kai de Bruyne there into the pit lane. So where does he go from the soft compound of tyre? He goes on to the hard as well. So are they just going to run the hards to the end of this race, or are they going to try and get them off as soon as they possibly can? At the moment, it's looking okay. Kylian Drumont on the recovery after sending it into the barrier. He's had a sequence, though. He's a lap down on Coque Lopez. Lopez sitting in second place at the moment. It's a Spanish 1-2 with just 6 laps remaining. As De Bruyne comes out of the pits, he's going to be net on for a podium as it stands now here in World Series 1 in 2024. He's driven a quite superlative race. I don't want to jinx it because I know what the commentator's curse is like, but he's having a fantastic run of things so far.
Just looking at the lap times right now, what I would like to see is a lap time for Miyazono on this hard compounder tyre. So we'll keep an eye on that because that's going to be pivotal. That pace on that hard tyre is going to decide this race for Takuma Miyazono. Right now, Serrano blistering lap times to him, low 59s from Jose Serrano. So he knows this stint counts. He knows he has to push now. Coca Lopez also putting in some decent lap times, just not quite as quick as his fellow countrymen. There is Takuma Miyazono. There is Kai De Bruyne. So that is the race for them now. They're both on the hards to the end of the race. So it's going to be a straight fight. Serrano again well into the 59s. I'm still waiting for Miyazono to come through the last part of the lap to see what sort of pace he's on. What he needs to be maybe is within a low 1 minute lap time. Anything more than that, it's a 1 minute 0.6 for Takuma Miyazono, which is not a bad lap on that hard compounder tyre, but it's 8/10 slower than the current leader.
Yeah, Serrano and Lopez still eking it out on that soft compounder tyre. You can see the rears, though, getting pretty second-hand, to be honest with you. So I wonder whether they'll be coming in at the end of lap 30 for a new set of boots for the hard tyres to the end of this race. What does Serrano do? Nope, goes round again.
I would, if I was him.
Yeah.
I would do exactly the same thing. I would that tyre for as long as possible, the hard for the littlest time, because he's still capable of doing these sub 1 minute laps. Every lap he's doing that, he's building that gap to Miyazono or closing it depending on the aggro. We don't really know where he sits right now, which is quite an exciting thing, but again, Miyazono, yeah, about 6 to 8 tenths a lap slower at the moment.
It's going to be close, isn't it? It's going to be
really
very,
close.
very close at the end of this one. I hope you're excited for this as much as we are here in the commentary box. So a Spanish 1-2 at the moment. They both got the hard competitive tyres. They both got their final pit stops left to run in this race. There's Valerio Gallo. He's up the road in 6th position, and this has been a fantastic race from Jose Serrano, part of the Spanish team which won the Nations Cup last year, along with Paul Ura and Coque Lopez, of course. And Serrano continuing where he left off.
And these guys are now able to win races. They are the Spanish contingent here in the GT World Series are all massively decorated in extremely quick, extremely consistent. Musical Coque, Consistency Lopez, as he comes into the pits now to, I think, come onto that hard tyre for the last part of his stint. But a good drive so far from Lopez, I think. The best he probably could have done from where he was in the grid. Got a bit caught up mid-race with some of the lapped cars there, which I think has sort of hindered his charge somewhat, but still a great drive. Again, Serrano still in under a minute on those worn tyres. What can Miyazono do?
Well, Lopez here was lapping pretty similar to Jose Serrano, but he was about 5 seconds or so back. So I wonder where he's going to emerge in relation to Miyazono and Kai De Bruyne. That will be the proof in the pudding for where Serrano is going to emerge. Let's have a look and see what happens. Through the first corner we go. Miyazono goes through up into second. That's to be expected. But where is Lopez going to come out of the pit lane? How far behind Miyazono, or indeed will he be behind Kai De Bruyne as we start the 32nd lap? Lopez there, 2.9 seconds away. It's going to be pretty close. But look at Serrano. He's now built that gap up to 31 seconds.
Has this been a masterclass from Serrano? He comes into the box now for his final pit stop, has to take that hard compounder tyre. 32 seconds was the gap as he came into the pits. Will he get out before Miyazono crosses the line and overtakes? This is now everything for this race. His mechanics chucking on a set of the new hard Michelin tyres. Serrano exits the pit lane. Where is Takuma Miyazono on the track map? He's still going through the last chicane. There's Miyazono now. Where is Serrano? Miyazono coming around the last corner. Serrano now exiting the pit lane. Where is he? Across the line. Still waiting. Still waiting. Still waiting. There he is. It's Serrano out in front. He is! Jose Serrano out in front of Takuma Miyazono. What a stint from the Spanish driver, and now it's a straight fight between two of the quickest GT drivers in the world.
The only thing I will say, Serrano's got to get temperature into those tyres as we come through these first few corners. It's fast and flowing, and that's where Miyazono will be able to use the extra speed. He needs to go now, as soon as he can, to give Miyazono in order to be able to win this. It's Serrano versus Miyazono, Spaniard versus Japanese driver, as we come down this back straight. So Miyazono's got the advantage. onto the slipstream. Is he going to have a dive to the inside for the chicane? Serrano's going to be wide to that. Goes for the defensive line, tries to park it on the outside. Miyazono goes for the outside line. Side by side they go. Down into the chicane. And Miyazono leads at the end of lap 33. That was crucial for Miyazono. He needed to do that to take the lead away and retain his chances of victory.
This fight is going to go down to the wire. I guarantee Miyazono was shocked when he saw Serrano ahead of him there. No one would have suspected Jose Serrano to have that pace in the mid-stint, but we should know better than that by now. This guy is a multiple winner here in the GT Life Fence World Series. Miyazono rocketing away down the hill there, using the advantage of not having to run through the dirty air, and he just needs to build a bit of a gap coming down to the straight. Already 8 tenths in that first sector. Miyazono is locked in now. Can Serrano do anything from here? Sasaki with a penalty there in P5 as well, but the battle remains up front, weaving on the straight, trying to break the draft. Can Serrano do anything to catch Miyazono?
Well, the crowd here are absolutely loving this one in Montreal, and Miyazono pulling out an advantage of 6 tenths of a second in a lap. 2 laps soon to become 1 remaining then here for Miyazono. It is now or never time for Jose Serrano as we come around the final corner here at Road Atlanta to begin the final lap for the grand final in the Nations Cup. It is advantage Takuma Miyazono as we go through turn 1.
You have to wonder, what if Serrano stayed out one more lap on that soft tyre? Would it have mattered? Would it have counted? Who knows? But we're on the last lap here, 8 tenths of seconds to lead. Miyazono just rocketing away in that first sector. I think Serrano had a mistake there. The gap over 2 seconds now, and Miyazono showing you why he's one of the most respected drivers in the Gran Turismo community. This guy putting on the clinic here. He's only got half a lap now between him and victory. Miyazono looking dominant once again.
This has been an absolutely fantastic performance from Takuma Miyazono. It looked like it had swung in the direction of Jose Serrano, but Miyazono was there. The temperature was in his tyres. He was ready to pounce. He had the initiative. He took the initiative. He took the lead of the race away. And now he comes through the final series of corners. What a commanding drive from Takuma Miyazono here in the Nations Cup as he rounds the final corner at Road Atlanta to win World Series 1 here in Montreal. Fantastic. Takuma Miyazono takes top honours. It's a double Spanish podium with Serrano leading home Coque Lopez as well. And a fantastic race for Kai de Bruyne, the Dutchman. 4th position at the checkered flag. But what a drive. He's not a triple world champion for no reason at all. That was the drive of a man who wants to get another title in 2024.
Amazing drive by Takuma Miyazono, but of course big mention to Jose Serrano. He's plus 8 positions from his starting place. He almost won this thing. That middle stint was outstanding, but you have to wonder what could have been if there wasn't all that confusion mid-race with the lapped cars. That definitely cost Coque Lopez, definitely cost Jose Serrano, definitely cost Kai de Bruyne time. Miyazono was probably the only one that didn't get in the way of that one. So, but amazing racing here, and just like always, the Nations Cup comes down to the last lap. What fantastic viewing.
Let's have a look then at some highlights from that fantastic race. Takuma Miyazono taking top honours, but it was Kylian Drumont who started it on pole position on the soft compactive tyre, and it looked like he was bob on for running a blinder of a strategy. We saw some great moves being made from Kai de Bruyne as he elevated himself up the order. Coque Lopez here with Sasaki as well. They had a bit of contact with one another earlier on in the race, and it all got a bit messy in the mid-stint as we saw some lap cars getting involved in the action, which cost a lot of drivers crucial time.